Yeah, that's fine. All right, well, I'm the Angry Ginger. I run the Progressive Matters show. We mostly do political topics that, talking a lot about like Trump and the presidential election, but a lot also about all the MAGA stuff and kind of the craziness that goes on there. It's a channel that started just like kind of mocking all the crazy Biden is a skin suit stuff and all that trippiness. And people drug me into this and want me to talk about my opinion. So that's what we're here for.
I have my own channel, Friction Vixen 3185. I just post kind of whatever I feel like posting. I vote however I feel like voting. I definitely am interested in what's going to go on with the debate tonight, and if it's going to be a matter of name calling and calling out the, what everybody else isn't doing and what they've done so poorly, and name calling and who does better at this, or if it's going to be, actually talking policies. So I'm just interested and glad to be here with you guys tonight.
Ashley, are you with the white dot?
Yeah, hey, I'm not your everyday Ashley XOXO. I also have a channel. I haven't posted in several months. I've just been taking a hiatus for multiple reasons, but Grateful invited me here tonight. I'm glad to be here. I will say politically, I've always kind of stayed away from political discussions, debates, arguments, what have you. But this is a very important election year for us. It is. I've been a registered Democrat since I was 18. I've voted mostly Republican. In fact, I've never voted for a Democratic president ever. Yes, I voted for Trump last time he ran. Yes, I did.
Not even Obama?
So, but this year is different. And after watching Kamala's speech at the DNC, I am a Kamala fan. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested.
Really? You're actually a Kamala fan?
Yes, I
All right,
am.
everybody, the live
Fair enough. I don't judge, by
and
the way.
hardly started now, so let everybody get their ears open.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you brought
Turn up the volume.
The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Ginger, did you catch that?
I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country.
Thanks.
Because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that she was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID?
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
What he actually said is 100% true. Actually, what he just said. Right.
Exactly.
I was about to say that before. Yeah, but I was about to.
She's a Marxist.
Are you kidding me?
Know she's a
Yeah, I was
Marxist.
about to say. I was about to say that. I was about to say it before he
he taught her
Opportunity
well. When
economy.
you look at what she's
I would
done to
love
our
to debate
country,
you on that,
and when you
brother.
look at
Let's
No
do
worries,
it.
no
millions
worries.
and
Let's
millions
do
of
it.
people
Let's
that
do
are pouring
it.
into our country
Oh,
monthly,
man.
where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump.
Stricter
Thank you.
immigration
Lindsay.
laws.
I want to turn to the issue of
I'm gonna debate
abortion.
this whole panel.
President Trump,
We
you
gonna do
often
this
touted
shit,
that you were
all
able
right?
to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not
They have
the current
abortion in the
governor,
9th
doing an
month, he
excellent
says.
job.
Called
But the governor
infanticide. It
before,
doesn't happen.
he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll
Her vice
execute the
presidential
baby.
pick.
And that's why I
You got
did
who's running
that,
for,
because
with her
that
as vice
predominates.
president? In
Because
history,
they're
it
radical.
is like that.
Democrats are
Fear-mongering.
No,
radical.
it's a fact.
Fear-mongering.
And her
It's a fact.
vice
He signed it into
presidential
law.
pick, which I think
What?
was a
What are you talking
horrible
about?
pick, by the way,
Her
for our
vice
country.
president signing the law.
Because
You
he
can
is
have an
really
abortion in
adamant.
month 9.
But her vice
No, you can have
presidential pick
abortion in
says
the 9th month-
abortion in the 9th
if
month
it has
is
some type
absolutely
of
fine. He
actual
also
issue
says
that causes a problem for the
execution
mother.
birth. It's execution, no
Still,
longer
though, bro.
abortion, because the
No, it
baby is
doesn't
born.
matter. I'll debate
is
you on that too.
okay.
I'll debate you on
And
any
that's
one of these
not okay with
topics.
me. Hence
I'm
the
not
No,
vote.
gonna do
it's,
So what I
I'm
did
not
is
willing to
something
debate. It's just
for
because you might know something that I
52
don't.
years they've been trying to
Yeah,
get
for
Roe
sure.
v.
You might have looked
Wade
more into it than I
into
am.
the
So I
Oh,
mean,
states.
I definitely
And
looked into this
through
more than
the
most people.
genius
I mean,
and
yeah,
heart
all
and
you do is
strength
kill me. Fill in the
of
gaps for me. I'm
6
like, oh, okay,
Supreme
cool.
Court justices,
Yeah.
we were able
know.
to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions,
believes-
very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart
Was that great,
for
Bill? Your
52
mic.
years. Every legal scholar.
I tell Ashley, take her notes. Take her notes.
Oh, you know I'm
Conservative,
all
they
about. I've
wanted
had
this
many
issue to be brought
abortion
back to the
debates.
states
Yeah.
where the people could vote, and that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give
Not
tremendous
tied up
credit
in
to
the
those
federal
justices.
government.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your
Thank
response to your
you.
president.
Thank you. It's
Well, as I
infanticide.
said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
Get
Let's
it.
understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
Look
and
at Texas
one
and
does
the
not have
10-year-old
to
that was
abandon
raped.
their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
I don't
have
remember,
talked with
but she
women
had to go out of
around
state. The
our
10-year-old.
country.
That's a fact.
You want to
Can
talk
look it up.
about
That
this
is
is
a
what
fact.
people wanted?
That is a fucking
Pregnant
fact.
women who
Sorry,
want to
sorry,
carry
sorry.
a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
These are truths.
And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025,
these are
there would be a
presidential
national
promises they can't
abortion,
deliver.
a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body,
sorry.
should not be made by the government.
They can't have
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible.
It's too divisive.
The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie.
The demographic of women that need care to abortion access or reproductive access aren't the type to go voting
this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe.
Yeah, that's going to become a meme. That's going to become a meme for sure.
Probably her boss.
Coin it now. Coin it now, brother.
He spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea.
Sorry.
And how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost.
I'll tell you that I hate
millions
that.
and millions of
Honestly, I hate that our vote essentially comes down to this kind of shit, though, because this is not what's actually important to the American people, to the country. It's not. That's why it should be federal. That's why we shouldn't even touch this. It's stupid. We are wasting time.
JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond. But I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. what is happening in our country. Working people, working women
Alabama, look at
who
you,
are
Grayfield.
working 1 or 2 jobs,
Mandrell?
who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state
Hey, that's Governor
to
Ivey's
get on
state
a
business, man.
plane
I
sitting
I
next
ain't
to
do it.
strangers to go and get the health care
Ginger
she
throwing shade at me.
needs.
I throw it back at you.
Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the
Unconscionable.
majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her
See,
own body.
Trump hasn't had to
And that
debate
is
somebody
why
this
in
eloquent
every
and
state where this
well-spoken
issue has been
and
on the ballot
intelligent
in
in a
red
long
and blue
time.
states
She's
both, the
prepared.
people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization.
And she's like, you keep
the
lying.
IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in.
You saw
I've
us,
been a
Mandrell?
leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing,
That's how
you
I
should
had
ask,
my last 5
will
children.
she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that
Why
question?
don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
No,
could
they're
do
breaking rules.
abortions in the
They're breaking
7th
rules.
month,
Yeah, where's the muted mics?
the 9th
Where's the
month,
muted
and
mics?
probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia.
Let him go. I
the
say let him
governor
go.
of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump,
He's that's
We're going
called
to turn now
comfort care.
to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important
He's,
to
he's,
Republicans,
taking
Democrats,
something that
voters
we're doing
across the board
misspoke.
in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting
Which
to the
you should
root
know,
causes
'cause
of
he does it all
migration
the
from
damn
Central
time,
America.
so.
We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the
this thing
administration
about
wait until
abortion
6 months
that they're
before the
just,
election to
talking
act?
about?
And would you have done anything differently from
It
President
was
Biden
mentioned
on
in
this?
the
So I'm the
Project
only person on this
2025
stage who has
document. I'm not
prosecuted
sure if you guys read
transnational
that.
criminal
Looked
organizations
at it.
for the
Yeah, so
trafficking of guns,
one of the things
drugs,
that they
and
said in
human
that Project
beings.
2025,
And let me say that the
they
United States
basically
Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States
pitched it
Senate,
as
came
a
up with
state
a
right
border
thing.
security bill, which
However,
I supported.
what is clear, like if
And
you
that
read
bill would have put
the
1,500
document,
more
it's
border
very long,
agents
right?
on the
I haven't
border to
finished it yet,
help
but
those folks
900
who are
pages,
working
yep.
there right now,
yeah,
overtime, trying to
but I
do
plan
their
on finishing
job.
it. I
It
planned on
would
finishing
have
it a while ago,
allowed
but I still
us
haven't got
to
around to
stem the
finishing it
flow
yet.
of
But
fentanyl
what is
coming
clear
into
is
the
that
United States. I know there are
the
so many
reason
families
why
watching
this
tonight
abortion
who've been
thing
personally affected
is a
by
big
the
deal
surge of fentanyl in our country.
with
That bill would have put
the
more
new
resources to allow us to
right-wing
prosecute
contingent of the
transnational
Republican
criminal
Party
organizations
is
for
because of white
trafficking in guns,
demographics,
drugs, and human beings.
right?
But you know what happened?
Yep.
The
To that bill?
majority of
Donald
women
Trump
that
got
are
on the
getting
phone,
abortions,
called up
if you look
some
at
folks in
the
Congress
Pew
and said,
Research
kill the bill.
statistics,
And you know why?
it's almost, I
Because
think it's almost
he'd prefer to
40%
run
of
on a
white women are
problem
getting, out of
instead of
all abortions,
fixing
40%
a
white women.
problem.
And then if you go
understand, this
by
comes
education,
at a time where
the more
people
educated
of
you
our
are,
country
the more
actually
likely you are to
need
get
a
an
leader
abortion, right?
who
According to the same
engages in
stats, which again,
solutions,
this is
who actually
Rachel,
addresses
you might
the
want to pause
problems
in
at
between
hand.
topics because
But
it's
yeah,
what
hard
we
it's
to
a
have from a
demographic
former
that white women
president is
fit
someone who would
into,
prefer to
right?
run on a problem instead of
Just go ahead
fixing
and
a
pause it,
problem. And I'll
Graybill.
tell you
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
yeah.
she's outlining her entire plan for immigration right now. She's
Yep.
talking about her past, how she signed into Congress the act.
Well,
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
What plan for immigration? Immigration has been her job for the past 4 years, and she's done
Well,
nothing about
exactly.
it.
We didn't get to hear it.
hold on.
Not that it's
Hold
an
Well,
on.
she's
issue.
blaming that on Trump.
I wouldn't say
Hold on.
nothing. I wouldn't say that. I
Well,
wouldn't
a
No,
say
she's
horrible
done a
job,
lot,
I'll say
actually.
that.
She went down to Central and South American countries. She was never actually called a border czar. She was actually given a job, which by the White House, they always put out a statement. I can literally link you the statement from the White House. When she was given the job to go to Southern and Central countries, her whole job was to address the actual disease, not the symptoms. We got a lot. Do we all agree that as far as like immigration goes, it's not Mexicans coming across the border? It's like
No.
Hondurans, it's Venezuelans,
Yeah, Central America.
right? It's Central America.
They're all coming through it.
Yeah,
Right?
they all,
So,
it's just
so,
Even people from other countries are going through South America.
Yeah, well,
her
here the thing
job,
is-
her job
Right.
that she was given was to address the root cause. She was never given the job to address the border problem. The border problem would have been solved through Senator James Lankford's Republican-written, Republican-signed bill that Donald Trump had canceled and thrown out the window because he didn't want to give Joe Biden any type of win before the election. But as far as Kamala Harris's job goes, she was told to go to Central America, to South America, to work with governments to address civil unrest, to address trade agreements, to address economic situations. And because of the things that she did do, we have reduced immigration from those countries by 50% or more. So yes.
Well, she's tightened the asylum rules. She said if elected, she'd continue to push for legislation and pledge to sign it. Basically tightening up who can cross over from Central and South America. So I think that we all know it's not really, we don't need to worry about like the border in Mexico. And plus a majority of these people, or not, I wouldn't say the majority, but a lot of them, they can come across through water. There's so many other avenues. A wall. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad that angry ginger, he pointed it out, right? Because it's very important. Because I want to know, what is Trump's policy on immigration?
Trump's policy on immigration is so what he says and when he plans to do are two different things, right? So Trump says he's going to close the border. You can't close the border. I mean, if you could close the border, then they would just, every Republican president ever would have stopped immigration, period. But the reality is that Obama was the deporter in chief. Obama was the person who removed the most people. The reason that Donald Trump had such low levels of immigration in 2017 was because of Obama. Everything leading into Trump's administration is because of Obama. But in 2019, right before the pandemic, he had elevated numbers of immigrants coming across the border that was stifled by the 2020 pandemic. Donald Trump's policies when it comes to what's going to actually happen with what he's going to do at the border is he's going to talk a lot. He's going to take money from whatever place he can find it to build a wall, because Donald Trump is symbolism over substance. He wants people to see
I agree with the commenter. We should probably move on with the debate.
Let Peaches get his last thought out. Let Peaches get
everything you said, I agree with. Which, if you look at Obama, though, in his reign, he wasn't an immigration president. That was not his campaign point. However, we see this being expanded with the Democratic Party, right, in 2024, because what is happening now is there's the same type of shift that happened with the Republicans and the Democrats in the 60s during the same civil rights movement. That's what's happening right now. There's a shift where now you're going to see blue MAGA. All this stuff that was going on in the 2020 election with election denial and all this kind of stuff during the 2016 election, and you're a progressive, so I'm pretty sure you're better versed in this than I am, right? When Bernie Sanders was running for president, and he was basically kicking butt, he's like on the cusp of becoming the nominee. The entire Democratic Party rallied behind Joe Biden, and they openly said that we would not recognize the candidate if they don't agree with him, i.e. Bernie Sanders. And that's how, the long story short, how we got, this old man in the White House, right?
Actually, not we, y'all tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies.
Take it back to where the guy was asking the question. Let's hear what she has to say.
Okay.
It dominates because they're radical. The Democrats, look, this is an issue that's torn our
protections of Roe v. Wade.
After it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
This is still the abortion.
Let's understand how we got here.
It's where
Donald Trump hand-selected.
Everybody wants, again,
protections of Roe v. People of America, why don't you transnational in the former president? It's all in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations.
And Trump,
leader on
people of America, protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, Nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
And she made a mistake here. She should
Why
have just
don't you
said
ask
yes.
that question?
Why don't you answer the
yes.
question? Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question.
you
Would you
could,
veto?
you could do abortions
Yeah, I
in the
know, but she
7th
should
month,
have.
the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor,
Probably
former
after
governor
birth.
of
Jesus
Virginia.
fucking
The
Christ.
governor of Virginia.
Sorry. Sorry, it just
Decide,
drives
and
me
then we
nuts.
determine what we want
You
to do with
can't
the baby.
stop.
Trump, thank you.
I'm just
We're
saying,
gonna turn now
Ginger,
to
like you said,
immigration
Frozen,
and
catch
border
that.
security. We know it's
Okay,
an
here
issue
we
that's
go.
I mean,
important to
come on.
Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President
She
Harris, thank you.
gaslit him.
President Trump, on that point,
Gaslight.
I want to give you a
Well, I would
response.
like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why
I would
did
like
you
to
try to
respond.
kill that bill and successfully
Why?
so?
Why
That would have
do
put
why do you want
thousands
to
of additional
respond?
No,
agents
just
and
stay
officers
out,
on the
dude. This
border.
is
Here's
this
how
is
we
when you
respond
Jesus.
step
to the
out.
rallies.
Right.
She
Leave it
said
alone.
people start leaving. People
Leave it
don't go
alone.
to her
Look,
rallies.
that's
There's no
what he
reason
wanted
to
to
go.
respond
And
to.
the
He
people that
wanted
do
to
go, she's
respond to the
fussing
crowd
and
thing.
paying them to be there.
Jesus
And
fuck.
then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country
No
back.
They're the
way.
best
Our
rallies,
country
the
is
most
being lost.
incredible
We're a
We're
rallies
failing
the
you've
biggest.
nation.
ever
No,
And it
no,
seen.
no.
happened
Wrong,
3.5
wrong. We're the
years
biggest
ago.
rallies, the most
And
incredible rallies. We're the
what's
greatest
going
rallies
on
of all
here, you're going
time.
to end up in
Nobody
World War
leaves a Trump
III, just to
rally.
go into
Nobody.
another subject.
Everyone
What
everything
they have
loves a
done
Trump
to our
rally.
country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come
Every
into our
single
Millions
thing is
and
a
country,
secret
millions.
ladder.
and look at what's happening to the
Every
towns
single thing.
all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to
Millions
talk. It's
and
not going to be
millions.
Aurora or
Millions,
Springfield.
the
A
best
lot of
rallies,
towns
the
don't
best
want
The
to talk
best,
rallies.
the
about it
greatest
because they're
rallies,
so
the
embarrassed
best.
by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people
Oh,
that came in.
no!
They're eating the cats.
Oh,
They're eating the pets of the people
Oh,
that live there. And this is
he
what's
went
happening
there.
in our country.
He just
And
went
it's a
full
shame.
meme mode.
As far
Well,
as
he's on his
rallies
way
are
out.
concerned, as far as
He
the reason
did.
they go is they like what I say.
They're eating
They
the
want to
cats.
bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase.
Oh my
Make
It's a
America
very
great again.
simple phrase.
She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not
Nice
only
face.
success, we'll
Get him,
end up
Kamala.
being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to
He has
clarify here, you
nothing
bring
of
up Springfield,
substance to say.
Ohio, and
Nothing.
ABC News did
Nothing
reach
at
out to
all.
the city manager there.
Nothing.
He told us there had been no credible
Oh,
reports of
God.
specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Of
All
I
this
see
course
is,
people on
not.
television.
let me just say here, this is
The people on television say
clar-
my dog was taken and used for food. So
Because
if
you
he
know,
said that, and
if
maybe
it's
that's
said on
This is
TV,
Let him out
this
of
is
Kamala.
comical.
not
There's
taking
the
this
meme
critical
again.
position.
There's
people on
the meme
television
again.
saying
Just
the
let him
dog
keep
was
just let him
killed
go.
by
Let him
the
go. He'll
people
beat
that went
himself.
there.
Again,
beat
Springfield
himself.
city manager says
Oh
there's
my
no evidence of
God.
that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
Grape Hill.
It'll
Don't
be
it,
Kamala's
Talk about
face
extreme.
and
Don't it, Kamala?
WTF.
Don't it,
Grape
You know,
Hill.
Yeah.
this is, I think, one
Why
of the
would you do
reasons
this to
why
me?
in this election I actually
I did
have
not
the
want to watch this
endorsement
tonight. I really
of
didn't. I just wanted to catch some
200
highlights.
Republicans who had formerly worked with President Bush,
I just
Mitt
wanted to watch some
Romney,
highlights
and John
tomorrow.
McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice.
Oh, what the hell?
Uh-oh. Froze up.
It's the Alabama internet, man. You know.
Man.
Donald
Her
Trump.
fucking face with
I froze and
WTF.
rebooting. I'm rebooting.
That is the
I'll be
meme
back.
of 2024.
Well, the
end of
thing
20
is-
like,
Enough.
that is the meme. Her
BBC
face
had
looking at
enough.
him like, what the fuck is this
Holy
motherfucker
shit.
saying?
Yeah, Donald Trump right now, he's in whatchamacallit. He's in dire straits with that whole MAGA, because that MAGA crowd is not a political party. It is a populist movement, right?
Mhm.
So that's what people don't understand. So that's why people kind of are very cultishly inclined to follow him.
Yep.
And to stick with him because of that populism. His talking points are leaving an actual movement, right? However, you could see, like, with his age and his senility, like he's just not all there, right? And the writers of Project 25,
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I
go
am
ahead.
all there. I'm all there. All the time. No one's got to bring me Trump. Excuse me.
No one
No one's got to
has
better.
as much as
No
I
one has.
do.
No one's
No
ever
one,
had it
no one
together.
is there as much as I am there. Okay?
Together is not as good as Trump. No one's ever been more together than me.
And
I'm the most
even
together
though
You just
president.
watch
together,
the people have
Excuse me.
voted.
Excuse
The
me.
social
Excuse me.
polls.
they're
I'm
eating the
there,
dogs.
and they love
They're
me.
eating
They
the
love
dogs.
me. People love me.
Here's my thing, guys. Okay, look. The thing is, I know what Kamala Harris is.
Oh,
Mhm.
man.
That's why I know she's not to be trusted, and she's not
Yeah,
in the best.
she's
She's not in the
absolutely-
best interest of
absolutely
the,
not
of the
being trusted.
people.
Is
Now, at the
any
same time,
politician to be
here's
trusted?
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
At the same time,
Mhm.
when it comes to Trump, you're like, so who are you gonna do? You gonna vote for Trump? I'm like, look at him.
Mhm.
You guys see what this guy's saying tonight?
Yeah, no.
I was so hold on.
He's a
I was so,
clown.
but hey, Ginger, I was so disappointed when Kennedy decided to drop out because that's where my vote was going, third party.
Mhm.
I was gonna vote. I vote every time, right? I do vote out of respect for the people who sacrificed so that I can have the right to vote. But that's just me, my way of paying it back. You know, what I'm saying, okay, look,
Here,
you
here.
went through that. I have to at least vote for something or someone. Kamala, I know it. I have firsthand knowledge of knowing what Kamala is and how she got where she is today. Firsthand knowledge. So, no. But anyway, Trump, hell no. It's just no fuck. There's no way you can take that guy seriously. He is comedy.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Say what you want about him.
When I watch
Can't say
Trump
he's not
and
funny.
Biden, when I watch
He's
that debate,
hilarious.
I swear to God, I'm not even trying to be funny. I sat there and I looked at my friend and I said, I feel like I'm watching an SNL parody of the
Right.
debate.
Right.
Yeah, it was bad. Let me ask you this real
Right.
quick, Mandrell, because you said
Go
that
ahead.
you wanted to vote for RFK. My theory is that RFK supported Donald Trump because RFK is going to become the new face of MAGA. What do you think would happen?
I
if
don't think
RFK
so.
No? Because let me, I'm writing a book called Conspiracy Illness.
I got you. My thing is, how'd you come to that conclusion? It would be my question.
Because, you know, my job, have I ever told you what I do for a job?
No.
Okay, so I've been in the health food industry for about 20 years. So
Okay.
I manage a store, right? And
Mhm.
so I've been kind of at the front line of watching the anti-vax, the anti-big pharma, anti-government overreach kind of thing that became part of MAGA. All the left-wing people, all the ex-Bernie bros, all the people that are just like disenfranchised that wanted something,
Good people.
anything.
Good people. They're really good people.
people. Yep, the
All
best
of them good
people.
people. The great people. The best.
So a lot of those people would have been RFK voters when they're coming in where I work, and they became my opinion.
He was always going to do that, though.
Yeah,
He
I
was
believe
always,
that too. Yeah, I believe
yeah,
that too.
yeah.
But I
So
believe
disappointed.
he's setting himself up to take over Trump, and Tulsi Gabbard also found her way into the administration to become a part of MAGA. I think that it's going to become a third party. I think you're going to have, well, I guess fourth, fifth party, because you got progressives, you got libertarians, you got Republicans, and you got Democrats. I think MAGA is going to split off or take over the Republican Party.
And independents.
Yeah. Well, I'm a registered independent, just so everybody knows that. But I have very progressive values.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Same.
So
here,
my thought process is that the MAGA is not going to go away. MAGA is bigger than Trump. Trump's not the main character. MAGA is a form of mental illness, and RFK is going to take it to the motherland for those people. I'm telling you, that's my theory.
Man, why would you why would you crush me like that,
I'm
bro?
sorry.
Come on.
I didn't want him to be weird either, but he started getting weird. Okay.
He did. He did. He did. Here's the thing. He was fine up until the end, like the past 2 months or so. It just, I'm like, okay, now what now? You know what I'm saying? It was like he'll say weird shit, and I was like, wait, hold up. Now I heard you that time. I let the last one go, but this time I heard that. What are you gonna do now?
Did you hear when he said that the COVID vaccines were specifically targeting black people and white people, and not Ashkenazi Jews? Like,
right. I did hear that. That's one of the things. That's one of the things. When I say, okay, what? What now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He got weird.
Yeah.
For no reason.
He wrote that book, and I really do think he's a little bit triggered by the fact that his dad was a big dude, his uncle was a big dude, and I think that he wants to be somebody. And I think that MAGA wants somebody to be somebody after Trump is gone.
That's a really good.
Says there's no evidence.
That's a good
of that.
assessment. Yeah.
Vice
Do you think
President
MAGA really has the legs to stand on its own like that?
respond to the
No,
rest of
they're
what
going
you've
to eat
heard.
themselves. They're going to explode. Yeah.
They're already doing
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said is contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security, former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously.
That's not helping.
Bad things.
That's not helping. That's not helping.
I never fired one person.
That's
They
not
didn't fire
helping.
anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal
Everything
that the Vice
with Trump
President has
is
reacted to as well. President Trump, you called this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things got no problem using undocumented immigrants. I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes. But it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down. All over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime.
It doesn't take it very long to go off script.
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so
wrong
rich
about the numbers,
coming from someone
I mean,
who
he
has
does
been
have
prosecuted
something, though. It does come
for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November.
I knew that was coming, man. I was about to say that
be
the
clear,
only criminal
where
on that
each
stage
person
right now is
stands
Donald
on
Trump.
the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for
40
law
plus
enforcement.
times indicted.
The former vice president called for defunding
just stop
federal
calling
law
people
enforcement,
criminals.
45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts.
34, yeah, sorry,
so let's
34 felony
talk
counts.
about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they
She's
used
talking
it.
about Eileen Cannon, a judge that he
to try
appointed.
and win an
Well,
election
in
in
his
fake cases.
President
Yeah,
Trump,
there's
thank you. A
some
really
appeals
quick
right
response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice
Wrong,
Department.
wrong.
Well,
I
let's
never
talk
appointed
about
her. I never
extreme.
did. I would never
Understand the
hire a
context
person
in
like
which
that.
this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court
That's right.
recently ruled
That's
that
right.
the former
I would never
president
hire
would
a person like
essentially
that.
be immune
I never did
from
that.
any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand,
When
this
people
is
do
someone
things like
who
that,
has
you're fired.
openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She
Yeah,
weaponized.
you
I
just kill it.
probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia
Cut the mic.
investigation
We do a lot to
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government
That's
buyback programs. for
MAGA
assault
blue.
weapons.
Remember what
Now
I
your
said.
campaign says
MAGA
you
blue.
don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why
I'm
have so
just
many of your
saying, I'm just
policy
saying.
positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a
wanna leave with that.
teenager.
When I leave with
The
that.
values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work. To say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done.
I don't know why she needs
Protecting
to bring
seniors
up
from
some of
fees
these other.
have
I
not
get it, but
changed.
like,
And what is important
little
is that there is a president who actually brings values
good from the
and a
start.
perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down
She's trying to get the people
and
Her
name
bringing up
calling.
her
The true
prosecution
measure of the
record is a big
leader
mistake.
is the
in my
Yeah.
opinion.
leader who
Yeah.
That's a
actually
big mistake.
understands
Well,
the
she's
Yeah.
trying
strength
to
is
be
not
more
in beating people
centrist.
down, it's in
That's where
lifting
the
people
that
up.
blue MAGA
I
kind of thing
intend to
comes
be
from, is her
that
attempt to be
president.
closer to the
President
center.
Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given
She's trying to bring
$400
those
million.
Republican
I wish I
voters in.
was. My father was a Brooklyn
Mm.
builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I
Only
filtered
4
into
million.
many, many
Only
billions of
4 million.
dollars,
It
many,
wasn't
many
that much.
billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised.
In
So we don't have to talk
1970.
about that. Fracking,
Yeah,
she's been
which is
against
like
it for
$100
12
million
years.
now.
Defund the police.
Right.
She's been against that forever. She
Right.
gave all that
Thanks, Joe
stuff up
Biden.
very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it. Okay. They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now.
Yo.
I'm
don't mind,
talking now. He
please.
used it on her.
Does that sound familiar?
He used her on her.
She went
Oh,
out.
shit. She stole it.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of.
But
Now
you
she
just
wants
got
to
out of
do
jail, Trump.
transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Oh,
This is a
God.
radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your
I just said
guns,
it. She's
and
trying
she
to be
will
more
never allow
centrist.
fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one.
No, it
Just to
won't.
finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline.
Wait,
So they
quadrupling
said,
and
let's go
doubling?
back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take
Oh boy.
400, 500 acres
Right,
of
no.
desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in
Hold on,
just
pause it,
56
Great Pill.
days.
Pause it real
And
quick.
I want to talk
Pause it
about
real
the
quick.
peaceful transfer.
Yeah, let's
We
hop
need
in there.
we need a moment. Like when you're listening.
Can
to
we
Trump-
process solar panel like real quick? And first we went from dogs to solar panel. I ain't gonna lie, when he said that, I was like, hey, I got a veteran on my panel, so I guess I'm secured. I
Yeah.
get trained.
Yeah.
I'm a combat veteran. Yeah, I am. I'm seeing no bullshit. I'm seeing here looking at guns now. I'm looking at optics for guns now on my other screen. I'm seeing shopping for guns. So I mean,
Careful, Mandrell. Careful.
I'm a combat veteran. It's expected. So I
Oh man.
But the questioner when she questioned Kamala about her switch
Hey, Ronard.
to everything that Trump was, his rhetoric back in 2020, we're just gonna drill, baby,
Yeah.
right? But again, this is a whatchamacallit. It's a, you could say it's more of a cooperation between these parties and what's going on. There's a bigger thing that's happening that's going on right now, right? So like I said, the way I see it is like a shift, like a 1960s shift.
Yep.
The policies are becoming more and more aggressively MAGA in the Democratic Party, right? And as well as if you look at Kamala back in 2016 when she ran for president, at that time,
Was it
no,
2016?
it was 2016. 2020 was Biden and Trump, but this was in
Oh, no, I
2016.
see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So she was arguably one of the most unpopular runners for that particular race, right?
Mhm.
And it really kind of like her interaction with Tulsi Gabbard really destroyed her campaign, right? When Tulsi Gabbard just put out her her prosecutorial record out there, right, for the whole world to see. And that's pretty much ended her run. So she was incredibly unpopular. And then Joe Biden had picked her for vice president in 2020, right?
Yep.
So in 2016, she ran for president. She lost, right? No, it was 2020. You're right. It's 2020. Sorry.
Yeah, she
2020.
dropped out of the primaries before the primaries began.
Yes, exactly. You're right. I was mistaken. It's 2020, right? The point is she was very unpopular. The only reason why she's popular now, and I want y'all to get this, the only reason why she's popular today, it has nothing to do with policy. It has nothing to do with her record. She's only popular because she is not Donald Trump. That is it. Right? Otherwise, nobody.
Absolute facts. Absolute
Yeah.
facts.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me why.
Okay, so
Hold on,
the only thing I
Let me say this.
disagree
Let me say this real quick. Everybody, appreciate y'all coming through.
Mhm.
We appreciate y'all comments. Any feedback y'all have, if you're for, against, or neutral, keep it coming. Shout out to Rogue Nerd from New Zealand. Let us know where you're supporting from. If you're from New Zealand, Alabama, New York, Texas, Houston, let us know where you're coming from, and keep it coming with the conversation in the chat. Thank you. Go ahead, Angry.
So the only thing I disagree with is, first of all, I was actually a supporter of Kamala Harris in 2020, right? Because one of the things when we talk about like her prosecutorial record, which Tulsi Gabbard at the time did a pretty good job of in that debate throwing those statistics out there. 99% of those statistics are incorrect. Out of the 1,500 people that she claimed that Kamala Harris had actually prosecuted, only 45 of those people actually did any prison time at all, and they all had greater felonies than just weed possession. They're all drug dealers. The majority of Kamala Harris's actual prosecutorial, like what they want to call her out on, is mostly gun crime. And being that she's from the Bay Area, she actually offered a lot of different programs for criminals to rehabilitate themselves, to reduce recidivism, which is actually it's a very progressive thing to do, right? Like as far as like keeping people out of prisons, because I'm against the prison system as it stands now, being a privatized system. I think there shouldn't be money in healthcare. I don't think there should be money in prison systems. I don't think there should be money in politics, and I actually don't believe that there should be money in education either. But her actual policies, because I know a lot more about policies than 99% of people do. So I actually know all of her policies, where people say things like, oh, she doesn't have any policies. She has tons of policies. I can speak to a lot of them, but we don't want to sit here for the next hour listening to me talk. As far as what you're saying about it becoming blue MAGA, I actually disagree with that, because MAGA isn't even a part of the Republican Party. MAGA is like a domestic terrorist in the Republican Party. I would say that they are taking on conservative values when you talk about drilling, when you talk about the immigration border plan, which talks about, I think in the DNC speech, she said it. She said she was going to push through Senator James Lankford's bill for the border if she became the president of the United States. That's a completely undemocratic, progressive thing to say. And I believe that's because I actually agree with you. I think that we are seeing a shift in policies where the left is now taking on certain policies of the right, the conservative policies, in an attempt to bring over, as she said, those 200 Republicans that are now voting for her. If you watch the DNC, you saw Adam Kinzinger, you saw a bunch of other Republicans that came on stage and spoke in support of Kamala Harris. I guarantee you that there were more Republicans that spoke on stage at that Democratic National Convention than any Democrats have ever spoken at a Republican National Convention.
Not supporting funding towards education and prison, though. Oof.
No. They're privatized. I don't mean, okay, so the government should fund it, but there shouldn't be privatization. So you shouldn't have prison systems that make money off of housing people. If it's
you can't.
Yeah,
because that's what you're gonna have. Like if you look at what Alabama got caught doing today, and Alabama's not the only state doing it. It's essentially slavery. You know what I'm saying? They're using because of prison labor. They're using that clause in the Constitution that.
Oh no, you're entirely correct about that.
Yeah, you can be enslaved if you're a convict.
I used to. So I do healthcare.
The 13th
I do
Amendment,
healthcare,
by the
and
way.
I travel.
Right, it is.
I traveled across the state that I lived in, providing healthcare to prison workers, and it's incredibly awful, the conditions that they work under. And there's no wonder why there's so much violence and uprising and just I'm not kidding. Like every single officer and there on up that
It's like
we
501.
serviced,
Yeah, it's like 501.
absolutely ill to the point of needing hospitalization.
Yeah, the thing is, what they got caught doing is like Alabama. Say you work, right? The prisoners can go work at, say, a Wendy's and a McDonald's. Yes, prisoners. They got prisoners working at Wendy's and McDonald's in Alabama, okay, and other places like that. So Alabama takes 40% of their pay before taxes.
Yep.
Before taxes, but you're getting, but they're getting still state taxes as well as federal, okay. And so, like one prisoner said, if you get paid, let's say you do something, you get paid $600 in 1 week. You're lucky if you come out with 200. But see, there's no way you're coming out with even that much if
That's so
they're
sad.
taking 40%, but they're being taxed on the
How do
entire
you
gross.
make a living? How do you ever rehabilitate? You don't.
You're in prison.
You don't.
You're in prison. You don't.
You're set up for failure. And
somebody's making a living. The people that own the prison. They're incentivized. This is why that judge got in trouble a long time ago for putting young men in prison, because he had a deal that he had worked out to send.
You sure did. I remember that.
For money.
I remember that.
Yeah,
he was giving them long.
That's so sad.
He was being paid by the prison system to give these young kids long sentences for minor crimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like give them long
mandatory sentences.
It's not even that.
Absolutely deplorable.
He wasn't even going by that. He wasn't even going by the mandatories. That's the thing. Say you get caught with like an ounce of marijuana. He was giving people 10 years for that.
Yep.
Well, we have rapists and murderers.
Right. Those guys would get 30 and 40 years.
Facts.
So there was no way for anyone to rehabilitate himself. It was, and he got caught and went to jail. I hope they put him in Jim Pop where he was murdered and raped.
Jesus Christ. Didn't I just warn you?
Big fact. Hey,
the petty comes through, okay? I'm down with it too, Andrew.
Mind you, since we're talking about, like, real quick, since we're talking about that aspect of the prison industrial complex.
All right, last talking point from Features, then we get back to the debate. Go ahead, Features.
Right. Keep in mind that it was Joe Biden, right? And I think it's 92 or 9, I can't remember, between 94, was it 94? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, the crime bill, right? So, he was one of the main architects behind that crime bill, the 3 Strikes bill, which mass incarcerated hundreds of thousands of black folk.
Millions, actually.
Millions. But yes, right? So, and it expanded the prison industrial complex. Right? Like we mentioned before, it was the 13th Amendment. As soon as the slavery ended, these folks couldn't wait to find a way to re-enslave them, and that's how you have that system that you have today, right? With this prison for profit system that's in the U.S., right? So the main thing I might have a disagreement with Angry Ginger. I agree with like the majority of the things that he said, except for Kamala Harris and her prosecutorial record, right? Right. I disagree. We can talk about that at a different time, right? We could probably have a debate about it. Yeah. We'll have it. No problem, right? It's great to hear a different opinion. But the way that I see it, she did in fact try to have the prisoners there in California have extended sentences in order for the
California
prison
wildfires.
Industrial.
So as far as that goes, just real quick, as far as that goes, she actually didn't say that. That actually came from her office. They used it during a court case in which they tried to use that defense. When it was brought to her attention that was the defense that they were using, she went to them. Now, you can say 100%, like I tell people this all the time, you could say she's the head of that office and she should be more competent as a leader to make sure that those types of things are not being used. But as far as like putting the blame directly on her, it's a little bit shaky to be able to give her.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, my brother. You know.
Oh no, I feel you.
Oh, okay. Oh. So if that's the case, so when Mandrell using some words that I don't agree on my platform, so it's my fault. That's what we're saying. It's my fault. Mandrell got a mind of his own. He did this. You can't be on me.
No, just so you know, though, like I agree with you because that's
Yeah.
what makes us different from being MAGA cult members. Is that I do
Yeah.
believe that Kamala Harris is fallible. I do believe that she's made mistakes. I do believe that there's certain times in San Francisco when she was the district attorney and when she was Attorney General of California where she showed either incompetence as being a leader or potentially just straight up dishonesty, right? So.
Yeah.
I think it was said best when it was said that the
Mhm.
hey, come on, whoever, come on now. But I think it was said best when it was said that we're mainly Kamala supporters because we're not Trump supporters. I really do.
I disagree with that because that's not why I am. But I would say
Right.
the majority of people that's
Maybe,
probably
maybe you specifically, but for sure, and if you look at the way that
Well, up until her big speech at the DNC, that was definitely, but
I would say I'm about 100% more well educated on policy and stuff than most people are, and I actually understand why most people aren't. It's a lot of work to do these kind of things. I work a
Yeah, it
full-time
is.
job. I'm a father.
no, you're full of facts. Yeah.
But I also have a really, really good memory. So like
Yeah.
doing these kind of things is like it's not easy for me, but it's a lot easier than it is for other people. So I understand why they take that opinion of just wanting to vote for her because she's not Trump.
I don't think so. I think that we all just have our own niches that we're more interested in diving into.
Stuff.
Yeah.
One thing.
Last thing before we move on with Joe Biden, he introduced that crime bill.
Yeah.
Right. If you get caught with 5 grams of crack cocaine,
I know about it.
Yes. Right. And we seen all kinds of videos of with his son smoking huge 8 balls on video, and ain't nothing happened there, So karma, baby.
Yeah,
If you
and
believe
the
in
one
that.
thing that I will say is the reason that I chose to vote for Joe Biden in 2020 because I didn't know. I'll be honest with you, I didn't vote in 2016 because I didn't really feel like it was a decision that I felt comfortable making between Trump and Clinton. And then in 2020, when Joe Biden was running, I wanted to vote for Biden, but I wasn't. He didn't have me there yet. But during a debate between him and Trump brought that up. Trump said, "You've done the most racist thing out of anybody on this stage.
Yeah.
You
Well,
passed the
that is
1994
true.
crime bill." And you know what Joe Biden did? Joe Biden looked across at him and he said, "It was a mistake. I should have never signed that bill." And I have never heard a politician literally look at another politician and go, "You know what? Yeah, I fucked up. You're right." And I was like, he gets my vote. Just the fact that he could agree that he made a mistake. And there's a lot to go into why that 94 crime bill got signed in the first place. Democrats reaching too far across the aisle. The fact that crime rates were really, really high at that time. The fact that, obviously people were, they're still racist to this day, but people were definitely leaning more towards that shit back then. But just the fact that Joe Biden admitted that it was a mistake, I was like, good job. I've never heard a politician do that.
All right. Shout out to everybody. Appreciate you for coming on, Hornet. Ashley, I promise next time around, because I see a lot of your comments in the chat, we'll make sure you get a time to speak your piece. All right, back to the debate.
Of power, which of course we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her.
That's
No way.
It's
There's just no way.
But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I asked, what about all the people that poured into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar.
Oh, he's back to immigration.
She doesn't want to be
He
called.
can't help himself.
borders are because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said,
Wait, hold on.
I'm
So,
surprised you're not talking about the border
first
yet.
he's talking about
That's
Ashley
because
Babbitt, who's
she
an out of
knows
control
what a bad
cop.
job
Now
they've
we're
done.
back on immigration.
What about those people? What are they going to be prosecuted?
What did they
What
have
are
to do
these
with each
people
other?
from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in
What do
from
they have to do with
all
anything?
over
Like,
the
they're
world.
not related.
All over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in
14,000
Seattle?
were,
They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You might ask her that
14,000
question.
You were the
people
president.
were
You were
arrested in
watching
the
it
Black
unfold
Lives
on
Matter
television. It's a
protest.
very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than I was going to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be great. I went to Nancy Pelosi and
I
the
wasn't
mayor
there.
of Washington, D.C.
No idea what you're
and the
talking
mayor
about.
put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it
He's
wasn't
still
done by me, it
entertaining.
was
You
done
gotta
by
give him
others.
that.
I said, I'd like to give you 10,000
Say what you want about him,
National
man.
Guard or
Say what
soldiers.
you want. You
Of
They
course,
cannot
rejected
of
me.
say
course,
he's
Nancy
not
of course,
funny.
Pelosi
he's
rejected me. It
of
was
course,
People are
just
gonna
You
go
cannot
2
say
weeks
that
ago.
he's
I
not
thought it
funny.
was on
Off
tape
this
of her
debate,
saying
man.
she is fully responsible for what happened.
You
They want to
cannot
get
say
rid of
he's
that
not
tape.
funny.
It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about
How?
you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi.
It doesn't work like that.
But I do want Vice
At least he
President
didn't call
Harris
her
to
Nikki
respond here.
Haley.
Yeah.
I was at the Capitol on
There
January
is that.
6th. I was the vice president-elect, also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia,
There you go.
the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by.
Yep.
So for everyone watching who remembers what
that.
January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge
thing
too
she
far
would say.
for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
In those words.
Let's turn the page on
He's
this.
like,
Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingalls, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed. Those people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to
Don't put yourself in jail, Donald.
Quote, lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
Oh my
sarcastically.
gosh, his lawyers
It
are
was,
gonna-
oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016,
So
you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote.
Oh
they
my
can't
gosh.
even speak English. They don't even know what
He's
country
going to
they're
jail.
in practically. And these people are trying to get
That's
them
it,
to
man.
vote. And that's
It's
why they're
back up.
allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it.
and said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing.
33
That's
did.
the other thing. They said
He
we
lies
didn't have
so much.
standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost.
No, it's
If you look at the
evidentiary.
facts, and I'd love to
Oh
have
my
you
God.
do a special on it. I'll show you
I'll do one.
Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris,
hey,
you heard the president there
Ray
tonight.
Bill,
He
pause
said he
for a
didn't say
minute.
that he lost
Pause
by a
real
whisker,
quick.
so he still believes.
He can actually get in big trouble for that statement that he just made right there, man. He's already been indicted on the very same thing that he says didn't happen. Right? We all heard him concede that he did actually lose the election, and when he said that, it caused a huge uproar on Twitter with the MAGA spaces. They were really upset with him, right? So I don't know, man. I think that the MAGA crowd will eventually push him out.
I don't know. I don't know because the people just got this weird like loyalty to him. Because I watch a lot of progressive live streams and it's like they just pop up out of nowhere and they're just like somehow some of their brain just don't care. They'll take what they want to take, run with it, and hold on to it for dear life. Like it's so weird.
Well,
Yeah,
so many
that's
different types of Trump supporters because there's the people that voted for him in 2016 because they thought he'd shake things up. There's the people that voted for him because he's a Republican, and then there's people that voted for him because they think he's a victim. But then you get to the QAnon supporters, and those are the people who have literally said, no matter who is running, Donald Trump will be the only person I will ever vote for ever. Period. That's crazy.
Yeah, those are his acolytes, right?
Yeah. Those are actual cult members. Yeah.
Yeah. However, with the Project 2025, right? What they actually mentioned, if you read it, they actually mentioned that whole 900-page plan,
Mandate
right?
for leadership, yeah.
And mandate is for him specifically. It's for him to be the president of the United States, right? However, the issue is now that it's very clear that they have a huge mountain to climb if they're going to get him in office, right? The reason why they want to get him in office is because they know that he can fix the judicial system so that they won't need elections after he's in, right? And they put all this stuff out in the mandate itself. They want to put their own judges, their own people in
Administration. Yeah.
administration. Yeah, exactly. So that we can get all of these laws changed immediately, so that we can basically dismantle the democratic system as you know it. It's going to be something different, and I think this is coming regardless. I think what we are seeing is actually the final chapter of the American democratic experiment. That's just my opinion, right?
I'm pretty close to that. Yeah, I'm pretty close to that because it's late stage capitalism. Yeah, we're at the end where the gap between the wealthy and the middle class is too big, and Donald Trump is actually a very good representation of what happens when that happens.
Yeah.
And also, just to add something to that, so he passed Schedule F through at the end of his last term. Schedule F is the ability to actually mass lay off federal employees, and that's part of Project 2025.
2025. Yep, that's right.
Because the majority of things that presidents have a problem with is the paperwork, the red tape. So they want to push things through, but it has to go through the administrative state. That's what actually they call the deep state. The deep state, when they're referring to it, is what they mean is all these employees that have been 20, 30 years in the government that do desk jobs, that push through paperwork and stuff. And they want to get rid of all of those people. And then I think they said they had tens of thousands of applicants that they have vetted that they believe will do whatever Donald Trump will ask them to do, that are ready to go on day one. They will fire all those people using Schedule F, and then they will put all these people into the administration. And that will so when people say Donald Trump's a fascist, when I was first doing all this, I was like, is he are we just using that term? Is it like when the left calls people racist? Is it is it just another one of these, the right calls the left communist? And I looked into it, and I did a lot of the very definition of it, watch a lot of Robert Wright videos. And really it comes down to being a authoritarian. It becomes, and that's what Schedule F allows. It allows him to take the executive branch's power and bring it just to him. So he will be making all the decisions, and all the people below him will be on the same page as him. So anything that he wants to pass will get passed. Yeah, so it's actually really scary.
Smart. Yeah, you're right.
Hornet, Ashley, do y'all have any thoughts, comments, concerns before we get to the debate?
Yeah. So for that, you would need, for Project 2025, you need an effective cabinet, right? And I think Trump has demonstrated that he cannot put together an effective cabinet. You need a lot of people moving pieces, and it's just anyone who has worked under Trump, I think it's up to 50 to 60% of them just never want to work with him again, right? So just on the merit of Project 2025, I don't think it's a possibility in the Trump administration, just because he's too disagreeable with almost everyone that he works with. There's just too much against him in that, in the way that structure is set up, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
when you're
Schedule F is so important.
Essentially, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're looking at the Project 2025, that entire mandate, right, is actually something bigger than Donald Trump himself, right? They wrote this mandate because of his ability to galvanize people behind him, right? But he himself, right, is just a tool for that particular order, right? So the whole point is that you're mentioning about, because he always fires people. The whole point is that he will have his loyalists ready to go once he becomes president. Right? So they plan on essentially purging the entire all these exactly, purge all these government workers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is his cabinet, if we look at his cabinet members from the past, they have been effectively loyal to him, right? When they were first elected, to the point that a lot of Democrats were very worried about the people that were being elected into these cabinet spots, But when we looked over time, Trump becomes disagreeable with them immediately, or if not within like a year or two, right? Trump is not very effective at, but even if you try to like, even the people galvanized behind him end up turning against him because the policies that he talks about, the way he speaks with his cabinet members, the way he speaks to Congress members is just not in a way that they would find agreeable. I don't think Trump works as a puppet. I think Trump is too disagreeable in every way to actually be controlled in that like fashion, right? I think we clearly demonstrated he will go off book.
That right, what you said right there is 100% spot on, right? He is somebody that cannot stay on script, which is, and you can see it's evident on this debate. I'm pretty sure the people who wrote this put this, many people who are way smarter than any of us put this 900-page document together, right? And they're like probably pulling their hair out right now because that's not what they need. They just need enough votes, right, to make the change, right? That's all they need, and this is going to push people away. It's very obvious, right? And what you're saying is true, that Donald Trump himself can't keep employees because you see how he is. He's very volatile and whatnot. But we're talking about a populist movement, right? This is beyond Donald Trump. This movement it's backed by very, very, very wealthy, rich, and intelligent people, including Elon Musk, right? There you go. Right? Yep. There's huge support for this, right? And the success of this Project 2025, it's not just going to be swept under the rug if he doesn't win, which is why I'm saying, we're probably seeing the final.
That's why I feel like everybody needs to vote. That's when we're going to keep it halt. That's the only, because I watched a few of it. I didn't actually have the pleasure of reading it. I watched other people read it, and I was like,
it's crazy, man. I mean, it's a long, tedious read, but once you get into
when you break it down, it's the most scariest thing you could ever read. Yeah. It's a wild thing. Actually, not actually EXO.
It's like 900 pages too, and it's just like holy fuck.
Just so you know, I have a large.
It's like the crying Bible behind the crying Bible behind the crying Bible. Like, come on now.
I have an AI that linked to an AI that if you guys ever want to look at it, I can link it. And you can ask it questions, and you can actually tell that it's like really super non-biased because it will say things like I can't answer that or whatever. It just pulls things from Project 2025. So if you want to, you say, how did they treat veterans in Project 2025? It'll go and get the pertinent information for you. It'll give you the page that it's involved in. So I use 3 tools. I use a Cliff Notes version. I used the AI tool, and then I used the 900-page mandate. So that way you're verifying the information and not just like depending on an AI model to tell you what's going on.
Yeah, there are many things that they essentially want to revamp. Many things like the education system.
That's
you mentioned about the veterans already. They want to take complete and total control of the judicial system, right? It's possible if Donald Trump becomes president, right? Because he's already shown his ability to insert his own judges into the Supreme Court, that's why I said it's bigger than Donald Trump, because he had the ability to do that, right? The Supreme Court in many ways has more power than the president of the United States, right? They are the ones who got rid of Roe v. Wade. The whatchamacallit, the government couldn't do that, but the Supreme Court did. Right, so they got all these
actions.
Friction, do you have any?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, family. But that's why when you don't ratify things like Roe v. Wade, that's the issue with like the Supreme Court, right? Like they wouldn't have been able to overturn that if like the government was just like, we're going to ratify that into like there are steps that needed to be taken there, and the Democratic Party just never took the steps.
Yep, 100%. Yep.
All right, family. Great pill. I appreciate the opportunity. It's a big honor and pleasure to be on your channel. There, I got to go to work tomorrow, right? But I'm very happy to meet all of you guys on the panel. You know, it's great arguing back and forth with Angry Ginger, right?
That's what I'm here for.
All right. And peace and love to all the guests on the panel and all the
commenters. Yeah, nice to meet you. For sure.
Thank you.
Is it
Yeah,
over?
we got
Have a
definitely
good
set
one.
these things up again. Features maybe like once a month because
Absolutely, man.
I ain't
It's
trying
just
to
my
get cursed
pleasure.
out. Yeah, I ain't trying to get cursed out by my host because she don't do the political thing. I at least want to have it in search at one time because, like I said, I've been on a lot of y'all guys' panels. I hung out with y'all guys, had good conversations. That's pretty much what I like to do on this panel. Just have like a different variety of everything. So political got to be another one somewhere down the pipeline. So I appreciate you, good sir.
Okay, Mandrell, Frictions, Vixen, Hornet, and Ashley XOXO, and of course, Angry Ginger and the brother Grey Pill. Peace and love, and free the land, beloved.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
Peace, man.
All right, later, man.
Vixen, do you have anything before we get straight back to the? Oh, my bad. There's Jedi Mike. Do you have anything to say before we get back to the debate?
No, I mean, I definitely, I have thoughts and stuff. I'm just over here taking notes and also taking notes on what you guys are saying and trying to, put that, into my
That's
thought
fine.
process.
I'm learning as I go.
But
Yeah, I'm learning
at
as
the
I go.
same time, I mean, there's already things that I know, and I grew up 20 minutes from where Kamala Harris. I mean, I was born in a hospital about 10 minutes from where she grew up.
Yeah,
So
you're an A's fan, right?
yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, which I mean, they don't even exist anymore.
Nope.
It's so sad. It really makes me wish that I had kept my dad's old school A's jersey, or it was like one of those like shiny like vinyl like old school. It was like this silk nylon like green with the big yellow A on it, but. Yeah, old houses in Georgia create weather damage on things that aren't sealed properly. So
yeah, man, screw them trees. Jedi Mike, how you doing, good sir? You have any other things to say before we get to the debate?
They're eating dogs.
Oh yes, that I also
eating
wanted
dogs.
to say something about that earlier, but I was on mute. Is he? Did he really say that?
Oh yeah, he said that.
They're eating cats and they're eating their dogs.
Yeah.
In Missouri.
He left out the ducks. I'm like, I'm fine with motherfuckers eating ducks. Like,
I got 20 chickens in my backyard that I can kill and eat before I eat my damn dog.
Oh no, we gotta go for dogs first. He said it, so it gotta be true.
Well, because it's like the most racist thing you can say.
Gotta be true.
But am I the only one thinking that this is not that bad of a debate? Like, I mean, I've seen worse debates than this, and it's like,
Yeah, I've seen worse. My thing with all of it is, I pretty much I'm with Mandrell because Mandrell first said, hey, it's more entertaining than anything else. I wish the moderates will hold them a little bit more firmly to the hey, if your mic's cut them off, anything else, because I don't want to play the shift game, like, oh, it's all about Trump, but Trump kind of like shifted over, then Kamala had it with the momentum of it. The next thing you know, she kind of fell into the trap, like, hey, let me engage too. She should just left it alone. She was good with everything else, kept it going, even when she gaslit them, because I caught that, because I'm about the petty. So when she gaslit them and she started smiling, like, okay, you got it, let it go, let it lean into it. Okay. But then she got cut off by him, like, oh, you don't remember what you used to say? And then it had a flashback moment.
I'm speaking.
So it's like,
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
speaking.
Yeah.
I got a question for you and Jedi Mike.
Ooh.
Where in the blue fuck have you seen a debate worse than this? Because nobody's answered the fucking question.
The recent one with Biden and Trump was just
the last one where they were sitting there talking about who had the better golf game. I bet you want to sit right against Trump. Like,
that's a bad question.
Are you serious?
Yeah, hold on. Here's why I say that.
They wasn't even debating. They were just arguing back and forth like old men in the backyard.
What do you think this is?
I mean,
what's the difference?
At least they're trying to.
They are taking jabs at each other, but even
as sad as it is, at least Kamala. I will say this. In this case, which I'm not usually a Democratic or Kamala supporter, I will have to give it to her in this very time and place. She is actually telling the people what she is going to try and do. And Trump is still doing the same thing that he always does. This is what y'all have done wrong, and this is what I did that y'all screwed up.
Friction is totally right. Trump seems on the defensive this entire time.
He put himself on the defensive. On the defensive. Here's the thing.
That's the best way to say it.
Here's why
he's just too worried about attacking than actually producing his own policy
Well,
and showing
but
the people that he
she's
has a
called things
policy
out,
that's
and
worth it.
literally he is just sitting there going, "Nah, I did this, I did that, we did that."
Yeah, and you guys
he's
ruined
on the
it.
defensive the whole
But
time.
here's my thing though. You guys don't actually think this is a good debate. What the thing is you're actually entertained.
Yeah,
But it's
I'm
not a
both.
good debate.
I'm both. I'm
No,
both.
no, 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 no.
You're
I'm saying
entertained,
I'm
but
no,
this
both.
is
no.
not a
You're
good
understanding,
debate.
Vandra. No. What I'm saying is
Mandrell,
that
I don't
I've
know
seen
about
worse
that.
debates previously, even the one back in 2020,
I'm
where it's even
entertained,
more
Mike.
hectic just by watching.
Mike.
However, am I saying this is a actual debate where both sides are actually giving out detailed answers and explaining things instead of throwing personal jabs at each other or cutting each other off just for the sake of get a one punch line? No, that is the entertainment value for
That's
this. But however,
no, they're
way
not
better.
doing that. They're
Yeah,
not
are there
doing
better
that.
debates than this? Absolutely. However, I'm just saying, as someone who's also neutral and everything, and in terms of not, being swayed left or the other, I'm saying that in this case, since once she brought up the rallies, he's been going down a spiral train where this, and you even see it in his face too, where it's like
Yep.
he's not actually giving detailed answers. Then when he's been given a direct question, he's not giving a direct
Yep.
answer, and
And
he's just going back.
not only is she
Yeah.
good at this, the delivery, but
Yes.
whoever, I agree, because it is what it is and we all know it.
Right.
Whoever is writing her speeches and helping her that's part of it, it's for
Oh
everything.
yeah,
For sure.
for
yeah.
sure.
For sure.
Whoever's
This is all
writing this
scripted as
shit
well.
is fucking spot on.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Well,
When
and
she
and
gaslit him, I already knew it was going
That
downhill.
was better than Hillary. I'm sorry, but
oh yeah.
Mm.
The one thing I
like,
have to say is this: is you can't
Well,
you can't have a real debate with Trump. Trump doesn't allow it. That's what made Trump good the first time. Was he kept it from being when Biden debated Trump last time, right? Now there's a lot of things that was wrong with that debate, but like my
Biden
main
has
problem,
dementia.
hold on. My main problem with that debate was Biden kept trying to cite numbers. I have this many jobs. I've done this with the economy. I've actually lowered immigration by this much. That doesn't work with Trump because Trump's going to
Right.
he's going to one-liner you. He's going to interrupt you. That's why he didn't want muted mics with Biden, but then he did want muted mics with Kamala.
He was on stage with an invalid.
Well, yeah, we can get into the whole conversation of where
Come
Biden.
on,
I
bro.
think
that's
I think
true.
I
That's
think
true.
I
Come
think
on,
For sure.
man.
But
I think
I'm just
anyone
making a
who's
greater point about like just debates.
I think anyone
What
who's
you
I
said.
think anyone who's not a fool can see after watching Kamala's speech at the DNC that she is on effing
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
On point.
And
You
the
hear
stuff,
that,
I
On
will
people?
say
People
this
point.
though, on the
blessings.
stuff that
She
she's
is she
not
You hear
is
that,
scripted
people
not to
on,
be
blessings?
she is not to be
on the
trifled
stuff that
with.
she's not scripted on, she's out there like she doesn't. She
Even on that,
it,
she's
it,
very well versed. She's
She's not
on her
fumbling her words.
toes.
No,
Yep.
She's
She's not
not.
no, she's
fumbling.
not.
Yep.
She's ready for whatever.
Yeah, he's
No,
fumbling.
not from
So
what I've seen.
as far as
well,
Biden's
honestly,
delivery
like her
point
best
goes,
point
I
right
Something
now.
else
agree
I'm
there's
like,
Wait, her
missteps.
for
best.
We
some
don't
things
agree
that
on
I've seen,
dementia.
she gets just like a question
Well, there
out of the blue, and she sits there and she's like,
yeah, there's something like just even in silly
Why
and
do they
just
mean
like
that?
even in these
literally goes
silly
crazy.
YouTube debates, there's something that I've seen, which is like, and everybody that participates in these knows, like, there's the tactical win and there's the optical win.
Yep.
She is definitely
Tactical.
achieving the optical win.
Which is hard against Trump, to be honest with you. She's
Well,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
achieving the
yeah.
one
I
thing
It
that's
is.
wait.
hard.
I would
It
also,
is. And
I would
she's
say
making him
policy
look
wise.
foolish.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I would say policy wise, she's really establishing her policies during this debate. Like she's done
No,
a
Right.
I
really good
know,
job
but
at
I
doing
agree
that.
with
we're
that.
But
looking
people,
at
hold on.
Red.
People was
We're looking
arguing
at
that for
the
before the
average
debate.
American, the
Yeah,
ones
before the
that
debate.
don't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but Hunter got a
because
good point because before the debate, a
optically,
lot of people
she's
kept harping on the debate
hold
on her
on,
policies
hold
a
on.
lot. Yeah,
I've barely spoken. I'm just saying,
yeah.
optically, she's running circles around him. And even the average Joe Smo who doesn't watch politics news, this, that, and the other, can see that she is optically winning. That's a huge W. A
Yes.
huge W.
Yeah, but the thing with the debates is that the debates are more centered for like the independent voters, right?
Yes.
The Democrats already are going to vote Democrats. The Republicans are already going to vote Republicans. What you're trying to
That's
aim for is
absolutely false.
establish.
That's absolutely
No,
false.
no, it's
that's
not. That you're trying
absolutely
to.
false. You're talking about
That's
yellow
why
dogs.
you're trying.
No, you're talking about yellow dogs. I've been a registered Democrat since I was 18. I've never voted Democrat. Never. Not one time.
You traitor.
Not once.
Just because you do
Get her,
that
man,
does
Trump.
not
Yeah, that's
does
not.
not
No,
mean
I did that
in generality.
based off of the
Wait.
advice of my family and friends who do the same thing. So this is
Well,
that's
again,
silly.
that's
For you to
What's the
believe
point of
that
being
is
registered
absolutely
as a
silly.
Democrat?
Actually, no. I mean, I'm being respectful. Like,
Do you
it's
think a
not
mass
because think about
majority?
this.
Wait. Do you think a mass
Saying
majority
that
of
if someone's
Democrats
gonna choose
don't
a
vote
side,
Democrat?
Well, yeah,
Or
you
would
know
you say
why?
that?
Because then you're able to vote in the primaries. If you're not Democrat, you can't do that.
Yeah, I can't vote in the
Yes.
primary in California because I'm an independent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I think a majority of people do that. And I'm from a fucking red state, dude. Yes.
No, a majority of people vote for the
I
party that they're
disagree
aligned with.
respectfly. I disagree
Like
respectfully.
we can look at the stats. They're like on majority when.
Who's gonna sit there when
She
they
said
vote
stats.
privately in a booth and actually say, "Oh yeah, I did this."
You
No,
know what
they're
exit
not.
polling is?
Democrats
Do you know what
don't
exit
favor
polling
Republicans
is?
that hard. That's hilarious.
That they do that all the time.
Do you know what dat schmatz is?
I don't.
Baloney.
Like
Baloney.
I don't
It's a bunch of
understand why you're
malarkey.
making this argument.
It's a bunch of malarkey,
No, it's not.
and you're full of it.
It's not. It's not.
Don't want to say the word.
That's crazy to think that exit polling is not reliable. Like exit polling is your most reliable source of polling.
Yeah.
Oh, just
in the whole
like an
country.
exit survey. If you get let go from a company, okay, this is me jacking off right now. Yeah, okay.
Well, here's the thing. I do agree with Hornet.
I don't think you understand how exit polling works, but
I do agree with Hornet.
I don't think you understand a lot.
I do agree with Hornet when he says that these debates should be geared towards independence, like people who are like people like Angry Ginger and myself. These things should be for people like us.
Yes, same here for me.
But the independent isn't a party yet. It's not an actual party.
No,
and
it is a
that's
party.
sad.
It's the American Independent Party. But yeah, no,
I
okay.
understand.
I
understand, but you do get the gist of what I'm saying, right, Angry?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that it isn't. It's sad. But the truth is that we've got Republican and Democrat. And I think that before we see any real change, we've got to do a change with that.
Ranked choice voting. I'm just going to say that every time I come on stream.
Booyah, booyah.
Bro. All right, we getting back to somebody asked earlier in the comment section, unless I don't know you, this is my channel. I pretty much do personal invites. If I haven't met you, known you, seen you a couple times, and you know how to act and behave on a panel, I'm not giving no invite to you, or I'm not dropping a random link.
Yeah, use me as an example.
The internet is wild, okay? I literally had a grown man, XUF, whatever he want to call himself. Lily said for no reason, the topic wasn't about me. Lily said, "Hey, I want a Diddy gray pill." The guy was like, "Pause." He's like, "No pause." Yeah, exactly. The internet is wild. The internet is wild, okay?
Diddy just lost a lawsuit today. $100 million.
Yeah, he stood on it. He stood on it like, "Yo, I want to do it." I was like, "What? I'm not even here a part of the topic. Why me?"
He did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, "When I win, those people who cheated," and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, "We won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote." Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders. Some of
I
whom
believe
work with
that. I
you.
believe that
They say you're a
wholeheartedly.
disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person.
Oh no,
smart.
not Viktor
Minister
Orban.
of Hungary.
Oh no.
They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that, but he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world.
I have no clue.
Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. He got 14 million votes. They threw him out.
Man.
He got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm
President,
okay with it
Mr.
because
President, your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and
he just
hostages
covered
are
like
still
17
being held,
topics.
Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people
Putin
understand what's
publicly
going on over there.
supports Kamala.
But when she mentions about
I think that's a
Israel, all
joke.
of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 20 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely
even answer
not
the question
true.
that was
I
asked
have
to him.
My entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide
Are you honestly
and
expecting him to at this
distract
point?
from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week.
Crime weights.
Because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, gets paid a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
This is not good for him.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
No.
I'm already a little bit ahead. I saw the ending and closing remarks and stuff, but on live, but it's just, as anybody really is independent, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, even I saw with JD Vance, where he's talking about how everything that Kamala was saying, he's responding saying that all she gave was slogans and not giving any alternative plans or actions. But then I'm like, wait, hold on. Are you going against everything he's saying when he's not answering the question directly, or going back to saying, going either to a false news and information they're providing from Biden, or about policies that were happening in terms of the terms of home deposits and taxes and stuff like that, and then you want to go in and talk about the situation with Kamala saying that her plans are inaccurate and all she do is giving slogans is not adding up with JD Vance in terms of the vice president runner up. The comments he's talking about, looking at the aftermath, what she said this whole debate. I just don't get it. So it's kind of just
To go back on my comment earlier about Putin, I think that I think he's playing both sides. I think that he's trying to support whoever he thinks might be president.
Yeah, why
And
not?
yeah.
a lot,
I agree.
no,
I
no,
absolutely agree.
absolutely. But I'm just saying the fact that what he did, what he said, I think that it's actually kind of a little bit of a vote of confidence toward Kamala.
Yeah,
Personally.
but isn't also for him to say, telling Kamala, no, you hate Israel. Well, let's just keep it real. Is that not also helping her for the Gen Z voters? If to say, oh yeah, I do hate
Yeah.
it because, but then she's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not. And then yet for doing that, you're also getting the people of the action from the Jewish community who are in support for Israel. So if anything, like you're helping her by saying that, oh yeah, she hates Israel. Like, no, I don't. But Gen Z wants you to hate it because they hate it right now.
No, that's big facts. That's big facts.
All right, this is the first time everybody got kind of quiety for a hot minute. I appreciate y'all.
No,
Everybody.
Friction disagreed with something, but she said she'd be back. So I was curious to hear what she disagreed
Okay,
with.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear her. Everybody in the chat, I appreciate you for coming on through. Sorry again, this is a hot topic for a conversation, so appreciate you. Let me go down the list since we got like a minute and 55 seconds for anybody else had anything to say in the panel. To the chat, Uncle Fatty says, "Oh yeah, Trump's society scholarly is gunning to be blowing up all night long." I agree. Shout out to Apex. If Trump goes on a rant on Truth Social, it's a wrap. He lost. I think he been lost. He should just kept his cool. But again, I think the panel agrees with me. If they don't, they can let me know. Everybody predicted this was going to happen just on his personality. Even the before the debate, both sides were saying the same thing. Like, hey, he just can't help not being himself. Like his personality kicks in overdrive, and he goes from there. So yeah. Somebody says, "Oh my God, he is mental." Mental illness is real. I've been saying that for the longest. Shout out to Either Man Williams. Either Man Williams says, "Laughing out loud lies. Why would they be laughing at a person that's not president?"
We're laughing.
I don't know what
at a
that
person
means.
that's
Can you
not
elaborate?
right now.
Shout out to Destron. Destron says, "I'm mad. Gray Pill didn't invite me to this shite. Bro made it seem like it was just one person coming on." No, I'm named like 4. I just didn't know more people like, hey, Pill, you server, beep, beep, give me the link. I had 4, and I had to apologize to Ruby because, to be perfectly honest, I said, hey, maybe some come, maybe go. I got to figure out because I know Ruby, it doesn't do the politics, and I forced her on the last. Really, I didn't force her on, but I said, hey, come on, Ruby. And so me assuming that her and West normally comes all the time, I just expect her to do it, which is wrong for me to expect that out of her. So she kind of gave me the virtual polite scolding with the finger. So I was like, well, I have a problem apologizing for it, so I apologize for it. So Ruby and I didn't want to put it on.
Ruby is a trip.
And I didn't want to put it on Action Line because again, everybody's thought about the political conversation. Shout out to a guest from 90 Day Fiance. I had her on once, but before that, we was trying to find a schedule and a topic for something, and politicals was off the table. That was like her number one. So sorry, Ruby. Sorry. All right, back to the debate.
Continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look,
What?
we're in for 250 billion or more.
Millions?
Because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect
Of course you do.
your president.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
they
does.
respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in
He's
2
not
years to
running
Putin.
against
Hasn't
Biden.
spoken
You're
to
running
anybody.
against Kamala.
They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president?
Cut his
But
mic.
we have a president.
I
Mr.
was
President.
wondering when he was going to bring that up. Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah.
clarifying the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate
He's
a deal,
giving Ukraine to
because we
Russia, bro.
these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Thank you.
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war
I
will
knew
be
she was
over
going to say
within
that.
24 hours is because
I
he
knew
would
she was
just
going
give
to
it
say
up.
that.
And
He's
that's
just
not
setting
who we are
himself
as
up.
Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine
billions
stands as
and
an
billions.
independent and free country. If Donald Trump were
Billions
president,
and billions
Putin
of
would be sitting
people,
in Kyiv right now.
billions and
And
billions of
understand
dollars.
what that would mean, because Putin's
All the
agenda
best numbers.
is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000
Poor
Polish
Poland.
Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons.
Wait, we don't have those?
Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe
Mandrill, did we dismantle all of them?
But he does have that.
They
Something
gone?
we don't even like to talk about.
I guess
Nobody
so.
likes to talk about it. But just so you understand,
Yeah, we never told anybody.
They sent her to negotiate before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one.
Shit.
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief.
He is railing
And the
him.
American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David
On
a
9/11.
place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that he began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban.
He made that shit up. That's not his name.
Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems.
He made that up.
And
He
said,
did.
why do you
He
send
made
me a
that up.
picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason
Meme
it
of
was
the
good,
century.
it was-
Meme of
we
the
were getting
fucking
out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish,
and it was
they
actually for the
blew
government
it.
Afghan.
The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
And
on.
these people
That's not.
did
That's
the
not
worst
true.
withdrawal.
That's not true.
And
There's
in my
definitely things to
opinion,
talk
the
about
most
that could have been done
embarrassing
better,
moment
but
in the history of
all
our
of the
country.
stuff he's
And
saying
by
is
the
not
way,
true.
that's why
You mean
Russia
the entire thing?
attacked
The entire
Ukraine.
pullout could have been done
Because they
better.
saw how
Yeah,
incompetent
there's a lot
she
that
entire
could have been-
thing.
and her
yeah.
boss are.
Yeah.
We
President
agree
Trump,
on
thank
that
you.
for sure. That's like one of the
I want to
Yeah,
move
it-
on now to race and politics
it was
in this
trash.
country.
Yeah.
Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years
Oh,
ago.
no.
When she happened to be Trump.
Oh my
And now she
God,
wants to be
really?
known as
Oh my God. Oh my God.
They gave it to her.
Everything
She
comes
won.
back to race.
No, she won. She won.
Everything
Look, people,
comes back to
she
race.
won. Okay, she's gonna knock. This is gonna be a home run.
Dude, this is like, she's like, yeah, come on.
Yeah, and it's
Oh my
underhand.
God.
This is an underhanded pitch, moving at 2 miles an hour,
Oh.
and she's wound up.
And he's gonna
Bro,
make
they
it
gave
even,
Moving at 2 miles an hour.
he's gonna
Right.
make it even worse. Even the guy's
Yes, he
setting
is.
it up, and then Donald Trump is gonna come in and just stick his foot directly in his fucking mouth in like 10
Yeah.
seconds here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes,
Because
he
he
is.
can't. He
They,
doesn't
they-
know how to.
they just gave it to her. They just gave this entire debate to her.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it.
Great pill.
Everybody's
Great
going.
pill. Here's where
Yeah.
she wins. Okay.
All right, let's get it.
Oh,
black.
she's laughing.
I want to ask a
already.
bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care.
That's actually the
You
best
make a
answer
big
you can
deal out of
give.
something. I couldn't care less.
And
Whatever
it's
she
still
wants
not
to
good
do is
enough.
okay with me.
Because he
But those were your
started this
words, so
shit.
I'm
I don't
asking
know. I don't know. I mean,
He
all I
never
can
should
say
have
is I
started
read
it.
where she was not black that she put out,
Oh no!
and I'll say that.
Oh,
and
God.
then I read that she was
no.
black, and that's okay. Either one was
Oh,
okay
no.
with me.
He
That's
had
up to
it.
her.
He
That's
ain't
up
done
to her.
Vice
okay,
President Harris, your
and
thoughts
then
on
he
this?
just fucked it.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who
A
wants to
tragedy.
be president who has
Call him racist.
consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I
Oh,
do believe that the vast
no.
majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent
Yeah, him and his
property to black families.
Father. Yep.
Let's remember, this is the same individual
Yikes.
who took out a full page ad in
That's
the New
true.
York Times
Central
calling for
Park
the
5.
execution
Oh,
Central Park
yes.
5.
5 young Black and Latino
This is
boys
true.
who were innocent, the Central Park 5, took out a full-page ad calling for their execution.
And screwed
This is
them
the
kids
same
up for
individual
life.
who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States.
He
And I think the
did.
American people want better than that, want better than this,
We do.
want
We do.
someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the
Thank
dreams of
you.
the American people?
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta
Knowing
move
that
on.
regardless of people's color
Yeah.
or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those.
They haven't even
not
hit
in
gun
hate and
control yet.
division.
Yep.
Vice President Harris.
Right after
Thank
that
you. Lindsay?
Georgia shooting.
President Trump, this is now your third time.
Uh-oh.
This is the most
Shut up!
divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country.
No.
And they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including
like
Bloomberg, agreed with
what
me
she
on
just
Whatever
said.
she just
They
said.
admitted,
I wasn't
They
listening.
said they pled
Her
guilty.
face. Her face.
I
And
wasn't
I said,
listening.
well, if
Nobody
they
was
pled guilty,
listening.
they
Nobody
badly hurt
cares.
the person, killed the person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the
No,
world,
Obama-
and I'm going to build it
Obama
again.
did,
It's
but
going to
he
be
did a
bigger,
good job
better,
hanging
and
on to it.
stronger.
Actually,
They're
it was Bill
destroying our
Clinton, but you
economy.
know.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea what a good
I was gonna
economy
say-
is.
Bush tried to kill
Their
it. though.
oil policies,
Yeah, he
every
did.
single
He did try to kill it.
policy. And remember this,
Lord.
she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know
Yeah,
the
get
gentleman,
off
she
of
says.
Biden's nuts.
She is
New
Biden.
conspiracy.
The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
He's scrambling. He's scrambling.
Briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people.
She's
I
good.
believe in what
She's
we
good.
can do to
Yeah. Being
strengthen
positive
our
is the
small
way to go.
businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk
She
about
did that
our
with her
plans
speech too. Yeah.
and let's compare
She's
the
keeping
plans.
a common theme.
I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas.
$25,000 home loans. Yep.
$50,000
$6,000
towards small
for young
businesses. too.
families for the first year of your child's life to help you
I don't
in
believe
that
her.
most critical stage of your child's
I don't- you
development.
can't believe
I
any
have a
politicians,
I don't
plan
either.
that is about allowing people to be able to
Just saying.
pursue what has been fleeting in
I
terms
mean,
No,
of
I
I got
don't
my
either.
I got my
I
house
don't either.
because of Obama. So
a help with down payment of
Yeah.
$25,000 down payment assistance for first-time
There
home
it is.
buyers.
There it is.
That's the kind of conversation I believe, David, that people really want tonight,
Yep.
as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling. Let's turn the
She went in that
page
Vice
debate.
President Harris.
She went in that
Thank you. Let's
debate.
turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on.
Nope, he can't
President
help
Trump,
himself.
Let's turn to policy, please.
Nope.
He can't help
To
himself.
defund the
Cut his
police,
mic.
she has a plan to confiscate everybody's guns.
Oh,
President Trump, we have to
Plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
Oh,
fracking
I was
in
wondering,
Pennsylvania.
guns,
Love it.
guns. I told
Love
you,
it.
I told you,
Love
guns.
it.
President Trump,
No, the
President
former
Trump.
president has
You
said
come-
something
I'll tell you what,
like
here,
that.
Kim.
Over 400 million
We're
guns.
gonna
She's
move
got a
on
plan
to
for
one
that,
time.
guys.
What he
President
said.
Trump,
You can
Told
bring
you.
your ass in my house. You want to talking about taking my gun. You're gonna have it all right.
The Affordable Care Act,
Oh,
also
dude.
known as
Bring
Obamacare.
your happy ass in my
With
house. You
all
want to.
fairness,
You now
she
say you're
made
going
gun
to keep
control a
Obamacare,
huge
quote,
part of
unless
her
we can do something much
of the
better.
DNC.
That's why I'm
Last
not. I'm
month,
not.
you
I'm
said
not voting for
we're
that bullshit.
working on
I don't
it.
want
and
gun
the Attorney
control.
Tonight,
General
9
in
years after
California,
you
too.
first started running,
I don't
do you
either.
have a
I'm
plan
not.
I think gun
don't
control is
take this?
bullshit.
Obamacare
I
was
do not.
lousy health.
I should be able to
Always
buy a
was.
tank
It's not very good
if I
today.
want
Most
to.
Yeah.
critical stage of your child's
Gun
RPGs in the
control
hole in
and
the
I want it all.
Mandrell's gone
It
full
will
libertarian.
If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan to change it. We will do something.
Who you have for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air
Yeah, I
and
gotta hear
clean
this.
water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight
It
is
is.
what would
That's
you
true.
do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their
She
home,
really
having
hones in
nowhere to
on the middle
go.
class.
We know that we can actually
Middle class
deal
is the
with this
engine of
issue. The young
America.
people of America
Yep.
care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels.
Brought
We
back
have
1.2
created over
billion
800,000
to
new
the budget.
manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement
did.
of the United Auto Workers
He
and
did.
Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building
all
big
leaving?
auto plants in
Oh, no.
Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they
And
think
fun
they're going to
fact, the
sell their
EVs
cars
is what
into
brought
the
back
United
the,
States because
auto
of
industry.
these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will
There's
kill
already tariffs
the
on those
United
cars.
Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other
I don't
place.
like cutting
What
everybody
they've
off, Ashley.
done to business and manufacturing
least
in this
right.
country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's
Back to
afraid to
Biden.
do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from
Uh-oh.
Ukraine. They get
Uh-oh.
all this
Hunter
money
Biden.
from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration,
Weren't
and
we
they're
talking about
selling our
manufacturing
country down
jobs?
the tubes.
President
I
Trump,
thought the
thank you.
conversation was about
you.
Harris.
We'll be right
Such
back
a
with closing
conspiracy
statements from
theorist,
both of
dude.
our
Jesus
candidates. An
Christ.
historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Shout out to Philadelphia.
That's right, go Eagles.
I thought he was talking to, the conversation was Harris, and he just keep bringing it back up to Biden and
Dude, I gotta say, friction in the comments, talking shit, but won't argue her points on panel. Come on, friction.
Oh no! Well, so here's the
Come
thing: is
on.
me personally, because like my kid and my husband, they're in the other room and they've already listened to the whole debate and they're over it, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she's paper written out and everything. I'm sitting here and I'm actually like trying to tune out some of the talk, but trying to take notes on what you guys are talking as well to like put in, just little bullet points. But I'm also really trying to like tune in and hear what they're saying, because that's the most important part of really what's happening. So it's more of me just trying to shut myself up, because if I'm talking, then I really can't tune anything out. I can't hear what they're saying at all. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely several points throughout the night and with the debate that
Friction. I just like to cause friction. Don't
oh yeah,
mind
no, me
for
too.
real.
And I would say that I feel like Kamala had a lot stronger points in actually what she's trying to do versus Trump, who's like I said, constantly just attacking on what has been done, what he did and they ruined, and how like basically training the whole Biden thing, and it's. I think that she had a lot stronger points, but there's a lot of things that really rub me raw or wrong, or wrong, whatever, both. I mean, I guess about her, and she says that she's looking out for the middle class people, and that's who she's going to be fighting for, because that's the people that have been working and they are trying to provide for themselves and their families, and they are really struggling, but they're because they're showing the effort, she wants to provide for those people. And I don't necessarily believe her. And I think that she would have been doing something more with the Biden administration, being vice president. If that was really the case, I feel like she would have had a stronger voice in that. But I really think that she's looking out for.
What do you mean by the middle class isn't showing that that's what they want?
And also, to be fair to her, the vice president can't actually do anything.
That's not their job. The vice president isn't meant to influence policy in that manner. The vice president's role is really to like she was talking about going to see Zelensky, like doing like foreign relations stuff during times of war, like when she went to the South and Central American countries to do to create like trade deals and stuff to help with their economy, so that way we don't have the immigration problems coming over. They don't have a lot of influence as far as policy goes, but she has been the tiebreaker in the Senate, which the vice president's job as a whole, historically, their most important job has been to be the main person in the Senate, to like supervise the Senate, and she's the tiebreaker. And in doing so, she was a tiebreaker for the Infrastructure Act.
No, that's great. I'm sorry, but I did ask a question. What do you mean? What do you mean, Friction, about the middle class not really representing what she's saying? What do you mean by that?
No, I'm saying that I don't like. She has been claiming throughout everything that we've seen in the past several months that she's looking out for the middle class, and that she wants to bring up the middle class, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
When
that's what I was saying.
you actually do what now?
Well, let's let Friction.
Were for the
I get it, Red, but Friction hasn't talked this whole time, so I was just.
I was trying to answer her question about whether or not the middle class was represented.
Oh, well, by God, let's go, Red. Okay, let's have more of a Red show.
Real quick. Inflation Reduction Act.
Sometimes, Red, you answer someone else's question. Red, sometimes you answer someone else's question by showing out and just talking, rather than let them talk themselves, right?
Okay,
and I feel like you do that.
Okay, let me ask Friction.
Right.
Friction. Let me ask you.
It's just annoying.
So to answer the question, I personally feel like there's a lot of. Sorry, I need to turn on my fan. I'm getting hot over here. There's been a lot of conversation that she's had where she's talking about the people that she wants to bring up, and then she talks about her situation, and she constantly talks about like victims and people that have struggled. There's so many things that she said that really lead me to believe that she is going to be looking out for the lower classmen over the middle classmen.
How? Explain that.
Gosh, I mean, I don't really know how I can exactly word that exactly at the moment. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Hold on 1 second. My daughter's standing. Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Sorry, Red, you're very intelligent. I get it, but I was just trying to get her to.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's all good.
That way, when we talk about these things, we know what we're actually talking about. We're not inferring what we believe we're talking about.
No, for sure. You're doing fine. Don't worry.
All right, we're gonna let
it. So go ahead, Friction. You had a question about, or you were saying that you had took issue with that she's not looking out for the lower class versus she's looking out for the middle class.
No, I think that she would be more concerned with the lower class than the middle class. I think the middle class.
I see that, like, that's more Democratic policy, but what has she said or done that makes you feel that way?
I can't put I'm sorry, I really wasn't prepared to like I've had a very non-political week for the past 3 weeks just because I knew this shit was coming right around the corner, and I really didn't want to hear any of it because I hear about it like 24/7 in my house. But I constantly watch stuff that Kamala, any sort of conference or fucking meeting or rally or whatever that she's at. It's just been the way that she talks about people, and the way she talks about her situation, and what she came from herself and the struggle of people.
What do you think the economic median, like the financial, what do you think people financially are making per year, let's say, that are considered middle class versus lower class?
I think lower classes. Well, I think that there's actually a break in between the middle and the lower class. I think.
But besides that, answer the question.
Okay, I think that there's a break in by about 15,000, and lower class would be 35, 30 and under, and middle class would be about 50.
A two-parent household.
Yeah. And depending on the state where you're at, because I'm from California, but I live in Georgia, and I've also lived in Arkansas, Missouri, and Texas.
So
I've lived in Oklahoma,
So you're saying
South Carolina, and Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much all the states. Jersey, Georgia, Alabama, Florida. A little bit of Cali, but hold on. So the question that she asked earlier was about the one-parent, two-parent household. So you believe two-parent household in selective states, the ones you mentioned, is like two-parent households like 30 to 37,000? Both make?
That'd be lower.
Under the 35 and under.
That's not middle class.
I know plenty of households that make under 30.
That's not even lower middle class. You're fucking poor at $45,000 a year.
Guess what? So here's the thing. She wants to give $25,000 to brand new homeowners, first time homeowners. Well, my husband and I were doing that 10 years ago. My husband's a quadriplegic, and just by working, his job is getting tax breaks off of him. And he's still getting paid under $40,000 a year. And what I was making, together we were only making about 47 a year.
But here's the thing. Hold on. Now, when you look at rent or mortgage, whichever you're paying, you look at utilities, maintenance on the house, food, insurance, transportation, taxes. You're poor. You're done at 47,000 combined. You're done. You're poor.
Yes.
Hold on. But what?
That's all of your money.
In my county, that is if you are making over 35, you are considered to be in middle class.
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible, though.
So that is.
But
the
that's
United
what it
States
is.
Bar.
Yeah.
So if Ashley is asking what the United States government considers when it comes to giving loans, grants, all those types of things, so that's national. It's not dependent on your state. The lower middle class, I'm looking at the numbers currently, is $30,000 to $58,000. That's lower middle class.
That's not middle class. That's poor.
But that's not. That's just that's your opinion. That's not what the government.
It's not an opinion, dude.
That's what the government considers.
We know what it's like going from paycheck to paycheck. That's what it is, and
you're
struggling in between.
Yeah,
but the thing is that is what is considered. Lower class to middle class.
My rent is $1,700.
Maybe even worse than that. And
my rent is $1,700. My electric is over $200. My internet's $100.
Christ.
Yeah, I pay that myself.
Friction's in California, so she knows.
No, I live in Georgia now, but I lived in California for the first 16 years of my life, and then I moved back to California when I was 18 for about 6 months.
Ashley,
when I lived in San Francisco at the same time that Kamala was a DA.
what were you trying to ask with that question? Like, what she considers?
I was just trying to get an understanding of the demographic of the panel and what we're talking about and what we consider when we're talking about our, I guess, political affiliation and
Women
how we
think
feel.
about things a little more in depth than just what's at hand.
Yeah.
And so she kind of wants to fill out the dynamics of the people in the room.
We're getting into red pill content.
No, I don't think that's.
I'm kidding.
I don't think that's the. Yeah, I don't think that's the. I honestly just. We all come from different religious, economic backgrounds. We come from different states, and we do different jobs, and we have different lives. And we don't know. Like, we didn't know that. That Friction has a quadriplegic husband. We didn't know she had a kid. We don't know any of these things. So when it comes to what's important to somebody based on how they're voting, I think it's important to know these things. And I just wanted to know.
No, that's true, because everything plays a factor with it. Because for me on my side, single household, renting, that doesn't play a factor for me. So I look at the week by week, or you want to say check by check or month by month, how my yearly income is. I look at it way differently than she does with her dynamic. So you're 100% right. Even down to the point where you said the number you said, I'm like, what the crap? Because I can name places where I'm currently at and the last place I stayed for a couple of years. And when I tell people just a monthly rent with utilities, people freak out like, oh my God, you paying up? Yes. And I know for a fact, and I just want to say this because she mentioned Georgia. It's not the whole state of Georgia, because people get this kind of like skewed a little bit. There's certain parts of certain towns and states that pays less. Now, also, people also think like, oh, well, maybe that's the hood. That's maybe the project.
No, it's just out in the middle of nothing where there's no grocery stores and you can't get to anything without driving 45 minutes or an hour.
So I just want to make that clear, because when people hear low income, always thinking like the hood project, it's not always that. It's always just either a nice, quiet, small town or a local town, but like 15-20 minute drive out the way. That's the major place that everybody goes to work at. Okay, you might be making 40 to 50K there on an average, and you're coming home and your rent could be between $300 to $600 a month, 1 to 2 bedroom apartment.
You would be surprised how many low income families live on old families' property.
That's another one too.
They're supposed to. That's the way to do it.
Well, see, that's the thing. When you think about taxes and things that keep continually going up, and you have taxes that keep on continually going up for schools, like our taxes have raised over 4 times in the past 4 years.
But see, and that's another thing.
And it's absolutely ridiculous, because a lot of them, they're going to schools. But guess what? When you look at the schools, they're not doing anything with the schools. So where's all this money going? In my case, in my county, they decided that even though they are building over 700 and I think 80 brand new homes that are going to be over $300,000, which some of them will be provided for Section 8, and some of them will be provided with large down payments from the government for first-time home buyers. All of these places are being built, almost 800 new homes in areas that schools are already overpopulated. And the infrastructure of them is falling apart. The schools haven't had an update in 30 years. They're already overpopulated. It's like, where does the money come from?
Your taxes.
It all comes from us.
Yeah, we still
and it's just I don't know. It's just getting worse and worse. And I honestly feel like and this isn't just me. This is probably a few people in my life that have bred this into my head, that it has gone up when the Democratic Party comes in, because they're
right. So that was my next question. What do you feel like Trump would do that would ease this for you and your community?
Sell some sneakers.
You know what? You know what I think needs to be done.
What?
Like
Those ridiculous things, man. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. Those things are so ugly, and people actually wanted to buy them.
Millions.
Hold on.
Actually
Friction
wanted to
was
buy
about
what?
to answer that question.
The shoes he made.
I'm sorry, Vic. I'm sorry, Fiction. Go ahead.
Chame? What?
What do you?
The shoes that he made.
Who
Sneakers. It's Trump.
What?
They were, yeah, he made some gold shoes.
$500
Some gold sneakers. $500.
Sneakers. Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, how have I missed this? I don't miss anything.
Because here's the thing. No, here's the thing. Friction. The reason why you miss it is because the reason why you miss it is because the idea of this is stupid, and you strike me as a person who doesn't pay attention to stupid things. So
she was asked a question.
you got better things to do with your time.
Trump does a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah, you got better things to do with your time.
Are you saying that you didn't buy the NFT cards that Trump
I
released?
did not. NFTs, dude, come on.
Ones. Yeah, he just released new ones. So, Friction.
Why? They're dead.
I actually see those authentic shoes. They've never been surrendered, and they're Trump authentic shoes. They're for $6,500 on eBay right now.
Yeah, because sneakerheads bought them, and then are reselling.
Yeah, they
them,
triple
like
the price.
Yeezys,
Yeah.
So real quick, just so she can answer the question, because
All right. I think military costs need to be cut down.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Huh?
Let her speak before Ashley cuts you off.
Military.
How long have you been in the military?
I'm out now, but I mean, I spent 6 years in the special forces, so I was a weapons guy.
Yeah,
18,
so
I was 18 Bravo, so
I say you're one of the very few, because I've known several people in the military all throughout all branches, and
I was Air Force. Yeah.
I say maybe you guys have a different opinion, but I do think that military costs need to be cut down. I think providing money to other countries for their private wars needs to be cut down.
I agree with that.
I think that welfare here in the United States needs to be cut down. I think that I hate to say this, but one thing that I don't agree with when it comes to Kamala is that she basically wants to fight for women to be able to go and get an abortion, possibly paid by the state, which is taxpayers' money.
With options.
Every couple months. I don't think that taxpayers should have to keep providing for women that are irresponsible with their bodies.
Then it would be so fun.
I think that there should be stipulations on this, because I've also been a victim of assault, and I understand that there are certain circumstances, but I think that needs to be something that comes into play. I don't think that taxpayers should just have, because I personally know women that have gone to the abortion clinic every couple months, and they just keep on and going out to the bars, spreading their legs for anybody, and then going to the
really. How many women are actually going and seeking abortions that are just doing that?
A lot of women use abortion.
Way.
We're gonna get into a conversation where
so stupid.
Of women
I hate
doing
everyone.
That is very, very
so stupid.
We can have the abortion.
So dumb. No, honestly, let me speak for 1 second. Let me speak for 1 second. So we don't want to support abortion rights, but at the same time, we want to cut welfare and WIC. Yep, this is just
Actually, I'm on your side.
I wasn't. Listen,
I think that we need to
calm everyone down. I'm talking specifically to what she said.
I personally have known several women that have
your one horse town. In your one horse town.
No, hello.
You've personally known this.
I've lived in 5 different states. I've traveled across 30 different states and stayed in multiple states. I've known plenty of people. Trust me,
who just use abortion as birth control willy-nilly.
Yeah, a lot of women do. A lot more than you would think, too.
Really? What is the average abortion number that most women have, and what is the average demographic?
Trying not to go down the road.
Are we now?
No, I would love to. They're arguing with me.
Are we now?
Ashley, get them, Ashley. Get him.
I know people personally. In my
I would love to hear
family
this.
that have just decided.
We're not talking
I put myself in
anecdotally, Friction.
whatever
We're not talking
situation, and I didn't want to raise
anecdotally.
a kid off of it.
We're not talking anecdotally about your one horse town. We're talking nationwide. What is the demographic, age range, and social economic status of the woman that's getting the abortion average in America?
Go look it up.
I have. I'm asking you.
Because guess
You're
what?
so vehemently against it.
Well,
I'd
here's
like
the
to know.
thing. Until you actually talk to women and
Oh, really? I worked OBGYN for 10 years. OBGYN for 10 years. You want to tell me I haven't talked to women?
Lesbian, bi, gynecologist?
Obstetrician. Are you kidding? You don't know what an OBGYN. You know what? Never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
Did you hear?
She doesn't know what an
OBGYN
OBGYN is.
Okay, you're
it's
good
fine.
now, Ashley. Can we move on to debate?
Yeah, she doesn't know what an OBGYN is.
We should have an abortion panel, though. It'd be great. I'm actually gonna wreck some people.
I'm
gonna fuck some shit up. So let's just say I digress.
On cutting.
If somebody
welfare?
doesn't know what an obstetrician and a gynecologist is, then I'm fucking done arguing abortion.
I know what an obstetrician and a gynecologist is, and I can spell both of them for you. I spelled them out for my fucking family last night.
Oh, well, I'm glad. You just didn't know what an OBGYN is.
Okay, so you wanted... Did it not sound like she said LBGYN? I even repeated it back to you, LBGYN, and you said LBGYN.
Who the fuck would say LBGYN?
I don't know. It pretty much sounded like you said it 2 seconds ago.
I work for an LBGYN, really?
I mean,
really?
yeah, I can run it back, but that's what it sounded like. Maybe you're,
run it back,
drinking or something, because you literally asked me a question.
Maybe I'm drinking, and that's why I have these.
You asked me a question, and then me off because
you accused me of saying an
you asked me a question and then you cut me off in the middle of answering when I was speaking about cutting down welfare, and
when you were speaking ignorantly about what the fucking abortion is.
Well, guess what? You I don't care if you've worked for OBGYN. That was probably in a little jackass one-horse town where you only met so many women and you didn't really get around and meet a lot of people traveling.
I understand that you don't know how this
actually
works.
make friends. And nobody wanted to talk to you realistically and just say,
realistically.
I do
realistically. Says the woman who doesn't know what an OBGYN is. Yes, I'm speaking realistically.
OBSTETRICIAN. GYNECOLOGIS.
I'm sure you won the fourth grade spelling bee. I'm very proud of you.
So you probably support women that have six kids and that are on welfare, and they have 5 different baby daddies, and they're on welfare for every single one of them.
Okay.
And
here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that your
every
small
single one of them, and that's coming out of your own freaking pocket to help pay for the women that don't. Well, where do you think that money comes from? You think it grows on trees?
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, well,
so anyways,
so do you think that you should be responsible for providing assistance through your taxes for a woman that has continually opened her legs to have 6 kids, and
just let me know when I can actually answer one of your 25 questions, and
I literally only asked you one question.
Okay,
I
then shut up, and I'll answer it.
Oh man.
Did you get the question? Because you're confused. You think
let me tell you
5 questions. I only asked one.
Are you done?
I don't know. Did you get the question?
Okay, so first of all, the reason I brought up I worked for an OBGYN for 10 years is because you said you've probably never talked to actual women in this situation. Do you guys remember that? I do.
I remember.
Yeah.
I worded it differently, but yeah.
No, run it back. Remember? Run it back. Yeah. So I answered you with that. And then the second thing is, do I believe that we should be paying? No. But do I also believe that your solutions are the answer to our problems? No. I think they're ignorant and absolutely fucking obtuse, to be quite honest with you. Cutting off women's access to health care, birth control, etc. And then
That's not what I said. I didn't say
it
that.
actually
I never.
is earlier.
That's
And then
not what I said. That's not what I said.
you
That's
can't
not what I said.
you can't allow me to
I,
answer your
I
thing.
actually was saying that they need to go more
Your
towards
inexperience
that
is
you can
showing,
provide
and that's fine.
contraceptives. It's a cheaper option than abortions,
All right,
and
I'm
it's
gonna
less
continue-
less health
I'm gonna
invasive
continue for 60
Well,
seconds.
you're
on
retarded.
a woman's health
seconds.
You're
reproductive
fucking
system.
stupid. You're fucking stupid.
Yeah, you're
I get it.
fucking stupid. Obviously, with that
I know
statement.
you are, but what am I? Who the fuck is this fucking shit kicker?
All right, there we go. That ended it right there. All right, let me read my comment and get back to the
She
debate.
called her a shit kicker.
Yes,
You
We're
think
learning
I know
a
how
whole-
long it's been since I've heard that?
We're learning a whole. Remember Jig, the last stream? We learned a whole new words and dialect today. Thank you.
It's a
Thank you.
southern thing, man. But yeah,
This
jig
is
a
why I
real
don't get
word.
on political streams, because women get so angry at my point of view,
Yeah,
and
you're angry. You're very
Do you
angry.
hear
I'm
that?
not angry.
Women get
It's
angry.
Ashley.
Literally, I'm spitting facts, and you're the one sitting there being a fucking retard, bitch.
What facts are you spitting exactly? I'm just curious. What facts?
She facts. You hear the
That you
facts.
were that you worked for OBGYN and you talked to women? Good for you.
No,
let me
the
read my
fact
comment.
that you
Let me read my
saying
comment
that,
and get back to
hold
the debate.
on,
No, they
may
spit
I
facts.
please?
KPO.
But
Okay,
she
60
called
seconds. 60
the
seconds.
fact
before
that
you call
you
a
sat
retard.
there and you said that cutting access to healthcare like Planned Parenthood, because that's what you're essentially talking about when you talk about cutting
I
reproductive
said
rights.
that there
And
needs to be
I have 60
restrictions.
seconds. Calm yourself, cow
Oh.
tipper. Calm yourself.
Mm.
So on top of that, and then you
Putting words
also
in
want to
somebody's
cut
mouth.
access to WIC and welfare.
That-
You have
that's not what I said
zero
either.
solutions for all the problems, and it's absolutely retarded.
That's not what I said either.
That's
I never-
exactly what you said in so many words.
All right,
I
20
understand.
seconds.
I just said
I understand that your
words.
husband speaks for
Healthcare
you,
needs
It's so
and we're
many
so
words.
sorry that he
That's where
couldn't
you cut me
tonight.
off.
Seconds
I
for
said,
Vicky.
But
well,
you're here by
needs to be
yourself,
cut back
sweetheart.
All right,
and
20
restricted to a certain amount of children.
Okay, she said it.
Okay,
you're already
good for
if you're
you
already-
and your in
And
your
guess what?
privileged
And
I-
state.
I've
Good for you.
Said
I've
her
known
piece.
plenty of people that have
Dude,
worked
Said
in
her
all
piece.
Bill
sorts
was
of
worried me
industries
and
that have
Mandrell
dealt
were
with
gonna
these
do
type
this.
of women,
I know.
and they all agree.
Didn't we get the warning? Wasn't it me? that got the warning? Yeah, we got warned. What is
But I
this?
think we disagreed on like two things, but then
that's it.
reconciled like instantly.
That's it.
It was like, it was like, hey man, what about this? No, that's not happening. And you just steal some shit in from me. I'm like, oh, that's what happened. Yeah.
I
Oh,
came
okay.
in hot and then I calmed down.
To the both of y'all, I'm going to deflect that honest fairly and deflect it. I'm going to put it all on the Hornet. It's Hornet's fault. Okay, there you go. Let me read
It is
this comment.
Hornet's fault. This is your word, Hornet. This is your word.
Shout out to Uncle Fatty said, yeah, your blood gray pill is pulling in like a 500K a year. No question mark. Come on, my dog. I'm broke and busy, sir. 9-to-5 job. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. There you go.
Broke and busy.
Yeah, man.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common
That's
than what
been her
separates
saying,
us.
yeah.
And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president all American on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years.
She's the vice president,
dumbass. To fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughing. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. What's going on in the Middle East? We have wars going on with Russia and
By the
Ukraine.
way, Germany's energy this year, 57.7%.
And it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan.
Wait, he's the one who fucking negotiated with the Taliban.
And maybe toughest of all is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
Here's the thing.
Watching here in the U.S. and
here's the thing, Great Bill.
Here at ABC News. Good night.
Good night.
Here's the thing, people. Okay, he's counting on the stupidity of the average Joe, right? And the ignorance of the average Joe, I'll say, because most people don't really know how American politics work. The vice president, for lack of a better way of putting it, doesn't actually do anything. They show up to work and wait to be told what to do. And they do what they're told to do. Like he said, if the president can't make it to a foreign nation to meet with a foreign leader, they send the vice president to go meet with him. And the vice president is told what to negotiate and what not, how far to go, and that's what they do. They're there as a reserve for the president to go down. And here's the thing, the president doesn't have anywhere near as much power as people think he does. He really doesn't. He can veto a bill, and Congress can beat the veto by a 3/4 majority. You see what I'm saying? There's checks and balances within our government, and there's so many of them to no one entity has too much power, and that's the point. So the president can't just get in there and do what he likes. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, I don't like that specifically about Trump. Now, Kamala Harris, I'll tell you why I don't like her. Do you remember when she was on the Senate committee for I forget what it was. But anyway, there's a Senate hearing. She's on it. Jeff Sessions is up, right? It's during Trump's first election, right? Or first presidency. Jeff Sessions is at the end. She cooks him. To be fair, she cooked the shit out of him. That's when she got everyone's attention because of her newfound popularity then. She had a meeting with Hillary Clinton, which are Democratic donors. They sat there and told her, "You're going to be our president. You're going to be our president." And she wasn't worried. They weren't worried about it because they know that being president is all about marketing. It ain't even really about your policy. It's marketing. You just have to throw enough television commercials out there and listen to the way she sounds now. She's what's her name? Ashley XO. She's correct. She is well coached, well coached, well prepared, very well coached, very well prepared. She is, yes, she has been being trained brilliantly.
She repeated so many points from
Right.
that speech
And the thing
that
is,
was written for her. Yes.
they know that she has to be. But my thing is, she's been appointed as president. She ain't the one that's been chosen. That's the issue I have with it, because I sat there and watched them tell her, we're going to make you president. It's one thing. See, so this is one thing that we all know and suspect. You know, so we all suspect shit like that goes down. That's one thing. It's another to stand there and actually watch this shit happen right in front of your eyes.
But the question the question to you would be, is that something that we look at every presidential candidate?
Yeah.
Or is it specific to this election?
The thing is, it's nothing to do with this election. It's just,
he's talking
like I
about
said,
the system.
Yeah, I'm talking about the disheartening part of actually watching it happen in front of your face. You're like, oh my fucking God, this shit really does happen like that. They really do this shit. Like, I always thought you did. But I think, but you don't really know. You know what I'm saying? So there's still that little bit of hope that America is kind of fair. You know what I'm saying? They're throwing money at shit. Okay, cool. Your pocket's deep. Fair enough. Whatever. But you don't walk into an office and say shit like you said, because that wasn't all they said. And then you go out there and I'm saying, she's vice president? How? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's happening step by step. As they said, and I was like, oh, it's just, for me, it's a trip. And it's one of those things that kind of puts a knife in your heart. You know what I'm saying?
Well, isn't that the point of getting your representatives, right? Like, you trust them to make those choices, right? Like,
no, not like that, dude. Not like that.
Well,
dude.
even in the Democratic Party, like, you still trust them to make your choice, right? Like, you're trusting that they are going to make the wisest choice. Like when we watch the primaries, right? That's people that have the confidence of the Democratic Party and the representatives there, right? They have delegates. That's what's important. That's why we couldn't really run a primary in like 2 months, right? Because there's just too much to happen.
Yeah,
like I said, it hits different. It hits different when you watch it happen. It hits different.
So what I would say to that is that we all know what the problem is in all of these situations. Like, I like Kamala Harris. I said at the beginning of this that in 2020 I was ready to vote for Kamala Harris before she dropped out of the primaries.
Were you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you could ask my boss. He
Wait,
was going for Elizabeth Warren. I was going for Kamala Harris. He liked Elizabeth Warren. I remember, so I have a really good memory, right? So
I don't know about Warren.
Why do you like Warren? Kind of the same reason I liked Kamala. We both agreed that there needs to be. So Trump, I always refer to Trump as being the crazy ex-girlfriend, right? Like, Hakeem Jeffries stole that shit from me at the DNC. First of all, Hakeem Jeffries. But I've always said, Obama, and I'm reading this book. You should read this book. You probably like this book, Mandrell. It's called
Which one?
Broken Badges and White Robes. And it's about
All right, write that down.
Joe Moore, who infiltrated the KKK. And he talks about how they were going to assassinate Obama in 2009. And how, like, all of this stuff that you're seeing now as far as MAGA and all this stuff goes, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, all that stuff, all of them have elements of the KKK that he infiltrated at that time. So during the 2016, I said this before, I didn't want anything to do with it, you know, and then Trump got elected. And I felt like Trump was America saying, we've had the boring presidents. We've had the Bushes. We've had the Obamas. Everybody kind of has this cliche of two wings, one bird. You know, they're all the same. It's the uniparty. All the same old shit you hear all the time. And so people said, oh, Trump's the wild girlfriend. The girl that does all the crazy stuff. She's sporadic. She's pragmatic. She wants to go do crazy shit that my wife that I was married to never wanted to do. So they went and dated
her out
Donald
for a while.
Trump. And they went and they dated Trump for 4 years, and they realized this bitch killed my cat and keyed my car. Okay, like holy shit, the crazy chick is fun, but she also fucks my shit up. And what happened in 2020 was they looked back at their wife and they went, I kind of like stability. I like going home and my wife's actually there, not with another dude. Or with 2 other chicks. Sometimes that was fun. Sometimes it got crazy. Sometimes we did heroin. But my point being is when they went back to Joe Biden, it was like, we need stability right now. Like, he was milquetoast. He was an established Democrat. He wasn't anything progressive. He did a lot more things that are progressive than I ever thought he would do. But to be honest with you, my bar for Joe Biden in 2020 was get in, calm shit down, keep the economy from going into a recession, deal with the pandemic, obviously, and get us away from the crazy rhetoric that Trump was pushing with the insults, with the anger, with the hate, the fear, the vitriol. Joe Biden did all of those things, and I'm actually super proud of Joe Biden, to be honest with you. I wasn't a fan of Joe Biden before all of this, but I have a lot of appreciation for Joe Biden passing things like the Chips and Science Act, because that's what I was trying to say earlier with friction. When we talk about middle-class jobs, they brought a lot of middle-class jobs back to America. That was with the Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and with the Chips and Science Act, which is going to bring back possibly.
Facts. I was about to say Kamala herself said that she supported friction. So I thought that was funny in his closing statement that he said she didn't.
She didn't. She didn't.
So the reason that I liked Kamala from the beginning was because I felt like after the crazy girlfriend, we needed some big mom energy. I felt like Kamala Harris as a prosecutor. Look, I grew up in the ghetto. I did all kinds of shit that could have got me put in prison, but I'm still here. I grew up as poor as you can in America. Like I tell people all the time, I didn't have running water. I had no electricity. I lived in a converted bus. I lived in a desert called Slab City. You might know about Slab City, Mandrell. That's an old naval base in California. I was taken away from my parents when I was really young. I lived as poor as you can in America. So I know what it's like to grow up from the bottom to where I am now. And I can tell you, if you ask 19 or 20-year-old John, like, hey, man, would you vote for Trump or the prosecutor? Oh, I would have 100 times out of 100 times been like, Trump, fuck a prosecutor. But 44-year-old John that's worked his way up from the trailer park to where I am today, like, understands that you should do more research into the candidates when people tell you that she locked 1,500 people up. That you should do more research when they say that they withheld evidence for a man that was on death row. You should look into that shit. That dude did some stuff. There's a really bad video on that where the last survivor talks about how that man killed his whole family in front of him, and people wanted that guy not to get a second chance, but a 13th chance. That was his 12th appeal. That she
the thing is, that for. What that was is it was some dog whistle shit to try to jam up Kamala. Yep. She's not the big bad wolf everyone tries to paint her out to be. 100%. You know what I'm saying? So because I look at that too, like the whole thing about her locking up people, like parents for kids skipping school. Like when you hear people talk about it, like she just was locking up hundreds of people, but it's like, not true. Yeah. No, it was like 3 of them, and they were locked up for other shit. Not for the actual kids skipping school.
Wait, that's also something I want to comment on, because even if she's a prosecutor. That's her job. She's representing the state, right?
Thank you.
That's what I was saying, right?
That just means she's effective at her job. Which I'd never count against someone.
Yeah, she's just doing her job.
At 19, it's just if you said a prosecutor that locks people up, do you want a president? No. At 44, you asked me, as a person that has a family, that has a career, that has worked his ass off to get to where I am today, if I look at a prosecutor that did a good job, not a corrupt job, but a good job, yeah, I want that person in power. I want that person to be my leader. She is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But my thing is to watch.
I just want everybody to understand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I just wanted to say for this. Sorry. I just wanted to say for like the debate wise, it seems that Trump is really good at rallying his people, right? Like, like a lot of us saw this as him side skirting and all these other things, right? But when you like look at it through the eyes of like his crowd, right, it's going to be a lot of fear mongering, a lot of like this is why he has to like jump back to immigration so much, because that's going to be like a sticking point for them, right? And that's kind of what Trump has been very good at doing. Like, he's been very able to rally his people, and unfortunately, it's just it's one of those things where I don't think there's unless the Democratic Party like actually rallies behind Kamala, I don't think that they actually stand a significant chance.
Hold on, Marcus got a question. I want to address that, and then Celine said something. Marcus said, "Damn, where's it went?" Sorry, Marcus. Marcus says, "So we agree she's not fit to be a leader of a nation."
She is 100% the best person to be the leader right now. I do not agree with that at all. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
look, I wanted Bernie. I like Bernie.
She's an effective leader as well.
She is a very effective leader. Yeah.
How so?
How so?
Right, fair enough.
Well, I mean, specifically when you want to talk about what I think we are in late stage capitalism right now, right? I believe that, and I believe I could prove that through facts with the wealth gap between the middle class and the ultra wealthy. I believe that we've entered a place in our country where we are controlled by corporations. If you look at things like Kroger's and Albertsons and their merger right now, Kroger's and Albertsons, if they merge together, they'll have something like 13 to 17% of the entire retail sphere, right? And then you add in Costco and Walmart, and that's 60 to 70% of the retail sphere. So,
you said Costco and Walmart are about to merge?
No. Just three corporations. If it's Kroger, Albertsons, Kroger, that would be fucking insane. Yeah, but that's the point.
That would be
actually,
crazy.
What you just said is my point. Is that
she
has very strong antitrust laws. She's a prosecutor. Joe Biden has been the most antitrust president in the last 50 years. He's had antitrust lawsuits that he's won against Google. He has against Meta. He has against Apple. He has against NVIDIA. And he has the one that's currently stopping Kroger's and Albertsons from merging. Kamala Harris is going to continue that, and I can prove that by what she did as the Attorney General of California when she sued places like Corinthian College for over $1 billion. She sued Chase Banks for millions of dollars. She sued Comcast for like $54 or $58 million. This is why I believe she's the best person for now. Because right now we need to be fighting against huge corporations that are taking over this country through lobbying and dark money. And Donald Trump is a billionaire. Peter Thiel is a billionaire. Elon Musk is a billionaire.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with being a billionaire?
What's wrong with it?
They corrupted.
You're just mad. You're just mad because you don't have it. You're just mad because you don't have it.
No, because wait. Lobbying is necessary like component to government, right?
Right.
Because,
I don't fully agree.
A government worker. A government worker isn't going to know the technology or like the stuff that you're actually advertising, right? That's why lobbyism exists, right? They show up and are like, this is how this works. This is what we want to do. This is how I want to implement it. And if you're okay with that, please sign off on this. And that's what they do. Now, the issue that we have is what? No, that is what lobbyism is. Now, wait. Let me get through it. The issue that we have with lobbyism, that we've seen examples of lobbyism that are done badly, right? With like money being handed out or like gifts and shit like that, right? Even though we have laws against that, that's the major issue. But lobbyism will always exist in government. That's just something you can't remove because unless you want to have like a regulated, like a super regulated market that is only regulated by the government and not free in any way, then that's how you avoid lobbying.
No, I just want
but
antitrust.
That's never going to happen.
I want antitrust to be enforced. So when we talk about lobbying, you're talking about the Powell memo, and you're talking about things like Citizens United, and you're talking about the Chamber of Commerce. The idea of lobbying comes from Powell sitting down at a diner with another gentleman that wanted him to give businesses more strength, more power in our government. That is why lobbying was created. Before the Powell memo, before Powell became a justice, there was absolutely no power for businesses in the government, even though they
That's
could
true.
put money in people's pockets. And the reason that is because now they're able to do it in front of anybody. They can do it. No transparency. I mean, full transparency. They can give money to whoever they want, and they can influence things however they wish to. My problem isn't with lobbying, because I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying, that like it'll always exist. People always be bribed. People always have like an ability to give money.
Well,
right?
No. I'm saying the concept of lobbying itself is just a simple concept of like these politicians are not going to be like scientists. They're not going to. So someone's going to have to come in and tell them what the thing is. So that's what lobbyism comes down to. Now the issue is again the bribery and all these other things, and we do have checks for that. But again, there's a lot of like underhanded stuff that happens in government that we don't see. That's probably where we're seeing a lot of the issues come up, right?
Yeah,
where we're like saying, okay, you're donating to like these super PACs and all these other things at rates that you shouldn't be able to, because there are already like caps on that, right? But if it's coming from like a subsidiary or like a pocket account or something like that, you're always going to be able to funnel more money in, and that's kind of the issue we're running into. So it's just like how it needs to have some level of enforcement that's going to be like a watchful eye over these PACs. But who's going to do that? Do we really want to set up like a whole government division that's going to be able to do that? It's because that's more tax dollars being invested somewhere else that I don't think a lot of taxpayers would sign off on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that we disagree here. I think what you're saying is correct in the fact that you're saying that lobbying exists because there is a potential need for all of these types of programs. As we know, like in the first place, they were created in a really good way to make the country we have today. That's why when Trump says stuff like America's a terrible country, America's a declining country, America's the worst, blah, all that stuff, it's all really hyperbolic and bullshit, because this country is actually incredibly amazing. The Founding Fathers did a very good job, despite all of their faults, to set up a system that when you actually get into it works much better than you would ever expect it to work. So when you talk about things like money being involved in politics because of people like Peter Thiel, because of people like Elon Musk, because of people like Leo Leonard, because of people like Donald Trump, you start to get to a point where government is being controlled by oligarchs and ultra-wealthy corporations, and that leaves the middle class behind, and that's a problem. If you go back to the New Deal or Theodore Roosevelt, you start to see how to fight against that, and I think we need to mimic that.
And because when you look at it, how America was formed, when you look at the Constitution and the Constitution versus the Articles of Articles of Confederation, all that shit. When you look at it, man, America's not supposed to be anywhere near as good as we are. When you look at how things went down, it's like a miracle that we are where we are today. Because you had shit like everything at one point in time, you needed a majority of states to vote in favor of something to pass it, but then the states just wouldn't send a representative, so shit would just sit in Congress forever. You know what I'm saying? And then they had to make new rules to where, okay, we don't need y'all, we only need X amount of votes, and then we're gonna pass it because shit ain't getting done. Like it's just
we messed up our first go around, right?
Yeah, we did.
Like with the first, like with the Articles of Confederation. To be
we
specific.
fucked that up.
It was like we gave so much power to the state rights that it was just like we want each state to, because it makes sense on paper that states should have individual rights, right? They should. But when you give them too much right and have like no reach from like the government, that's why I don't think libertarianism works. If you have no overreaching government, there's no way to actually be like incentivize your neighboring state to like defend you or even trade with you, right? Like it's just too difficult, and to figure out that we fixed that problem so quickly in the past and then we got to the way we are now is just incredible when we think about it.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, dude, once you read up on that shit, like should actually brush up on the history of American history, American politics. It's actually amazing we got as far as we have.
Yeah, and done as well we have. Because it can't be said enough. This country is an amazing country to live in, and it's a country that most people would kill to live in. Like when people talk about how we came out of the pandemic and talk about, how bad things are right now. And like, you wouldn't have survived in the 30s. When the actual Great Depression happened, do you think that they got a year out of the Great Depression and they're like, oh, sweet, don't have to boil my shoes and eat them anymore. Great, like, this shit should all be over. No, you just came out of a global pandemic, and the fact that we dodged a recession is actually incredibly amazing. The fact that inflation is almost down to pre-pandemic levels. Donald Trump keeps saying he had zero
Levels is
inflation.
crazy.
Yeah, he keeps saying he had zero inflation. It was somewhere between 1.4 and 2.8, and it was only as low as 1.4 during the very first year of the pandemic because there was nobody going outside. So the real percentage that Donald Trump was hanging around for the most part is about 2%, which is where you want to be. And we're almost down to it now when people were projecting that we would be going through a recession and that unemployment would be sky fucking high right now. We're not. You should be patting yourselves on the back, and that's one of the things that pisses me off the most about this political atmosphere is Americans should be patting each other on the back right now and saying, good job. We just got through a global pandemic and we came out ahead of every other country. We are positioned in a place right now to take advantage of the next industrial revolution, which is going to be AI and green energy. Things like the Chips and Science Act are going to bring back chip production to America. It's going to keep us out of wars in Taiwan and China. Like, all of these things we should be able to pat each other on the back, but instead, because Donald Trump still exists, because Donald Trump still sucks the very air out of this country, we can't even congratulate each other. We can't even say, hey, good job. Because if you do, he'll go, what are you congratulating each other for? This country sucks.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, again, it's I've heard a lot of people argue about like Joe Biden's presidency and then being like unemployment's at an all-time high. When you look at it, it's at like lower numbers than Trump ever had. Yep. It's fantastic how like a talking point can just like pretty much extend everywhere without like without any like real backing, right? Like you always hear Republicans talk about open border policies and stuff like that, right? But when you look through every like if we look through just Biden's presidency, right? He's been criticized on how critical he is with the border, right? Like a lot of Democrats don't think that he's being loose enough with the way he's being at the same rate as Trump. Like but no one will talk about that because a lot of people will be like, no, he wants an open border. That's what they want. And it's frustrating to be on this side and be like, fuck, how the fuck am I supposed to engage with you now at this point, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's because people have learned over the past like couple generations that being like centrist or having any kind of like middle ground opinion on anything, or a realistic opinion that's based on evidence, doesn't do anything, because people like symbolism, they hate substance. They want big grand statements, they want insults, they want people fighting with each other, they want fireworks. What they don't want is a person going, actually, if you want to be honest about it, Donald Trump had a 3.5% unemployment rate. Joe Biden had a 3.4% unemployment rate. So Joe Biden actually had a better unemployment rate. But what we really don't get to talk about is the fact that for like 79 straight months, I think it was, we had one of the greatest economies in the world, in the history of the world.
Excuse me. No, wrong. My economy was more like 2%. My economy was at 2%. Down to the lowest, still is 2%. That's where it was. Some people even saying 1%. I'm not saying it, but other people are.
Great
Others
people,
are saying it.
The best
great people, the best people, great people, the best people. No one's had good people greater than me. They're all great people. Everyone who follows me is great people.
Fucking Bill Clinton sitting there going, I was at 4%. Why does no one talk about the fact that I was the best?
He was.
He was.
He was. I tell people that all the time. I say, listen, because someone asked me, why do you go on about Bill Clinton and this, Bill Clinton, this? I said, 2 reasons. Okay. And this is why I give, he's the only person I kind of go like, I can't give you a full pass.
Yeah.
But I give you a lot of leniency for that crime bill you signed. Mm-hmm. Number 1, the job he did with the economy. 100%. Okay. Number 2, of everyone who had anything to do with that crime bill, Clinton is the only one to this day who had the dignity to apologize. He's the only one who actually apologized for it. And he has done so for years. You know what I'm saying? Since he did it, he's apologized for it. Because he knew that bill's fucked up and he didn't want to sign it. But to do the things that he wanted to do economically, he had to give the Republicans something. His whole thing was, there's no such thing as a free lunch. He's like, there's no such thing as a free lunch. I had to get the economy together. So I signed it and just prayed for the best.
Yep, bipartisanship.
Those are his words. He said, I signed it. I held my nose while I did it. I did sign it, and I just prayed for the best.
Yeah, and I would say that progressives on the left, like when I say like I have progressive values, I have certain progressive values, right? But even certain progressives are too far left for me. And what I say is that the death of bipartisanship is because of people that were too far out on the left and what we have as MAGA Republicans now. So people like McCain get absolutely shot by MAGA Republicans, and that's insanity. Because McCain at no point was really like some kind of like crazy conservative, but he also was a conservative. He definitely was not left wing. He wasn't leaning left, any of those things. He was a conservative. He just wasn't a MAGA conservative. And so it's been the death of bipartisan.
He wasn't a nut job. He's what I call an actual Republican.
Yeah, that's why
that's what I call an actual Republican.
Yeah, that's why I tell MAGA Republicans all the time. I tell MAGA all the time. I go, when you guys keep saying these guys are rhinos, I go, do you recognize you're the actual rhino? You are the person that is a Republican in name only, because real conservative Republicans care about taxes. They care about cutting regulations. They talk about cutting entitlement programs, but they never do, and that's why they always have gigantic budget deficits. But these are the things that real conservatives actually talk about. They don't, like the immigration thing, like the James Langford thing would have been the Republican wet dream for border bills. If you would have said 8 years ago that James Langford was allowed to push that bill through during Obama's administration, conservatives would have never stopped talking about that win.
Yeah, and the thing is,
say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would say that it goes even further beyond that. I would say, like, if we look like at the Reagan administration and onwards, right? Like, we see a shift in like the Republican Party in itself, right? Where taxes actually became an issue, right? Because everyone before Reagan, and even like even people after Reagan, they increased taxes for like businesses, right? Like that wasn't like a strong sticking point for them. But when we saw Reagan like completely like slash everything and was just like, that's why Bill Clinton's administration pretty much had to come in and like clean up a lot of shit, right? We see all these things happen, and I think like this is just another political shift that we're seeing, that it's just like, okay, this is what's important in these values. Like, immigration is always going to be a standing point, but now it just seems to be like the like hitching post for like each party.
And I think Feaches actually is the one who said it earlier, that there seems to be like a polarity shift in the parties, just like in '64 during the Civil Rights Act. And I actually agree with that, because I think the left, and this is why I actually think Kamala Harris will win. Kamala Harris in aggregate polls, so everybody keeps looking at polls. I think polls are shit, to be honest with you. I don't go by polls. Get out and vote. That's the way to do it. But if you want to go by polls, you should be going by aggregate polls. You shouldn't be taking
aggregate
one
data.
polls.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be taking, the Siena poll. You shouldn't be taking the Emerson poll. You should look at aggregate data, and most importantly, you should be looking at aggregate data in swing states. So you should be looking at Georgia. You should be looking at North Carolina, because apparently it's a swing state. You should be looking at Nevada. You should be looking at Michigan and Pennsylvania, all these different places, and deciding whether or not, those states, if you win those states, you're most likely going to be the president of the United States of America. That's why actually in 2016, I don't know if you guys know this, but Donald Trump put tons of money into, I think it's Georgia and Pennsylvania. It might have been Michigan, but he moneyballed it. He literally called it that. He called it moneyballing, and that's what he's doing right now. He's putting a shit ton of money into 2 swing states, and he's avoiding other states. But I actually think this time that's not going to work out. to get back to my point about the the polar shifts, I think what Kamala's trying to do right now to take those swing states is trying to take things that are just left of center, like the immigration policy, which actually is kind of right. Take things like the small business loans, which is just left of center, and she's trying to reach out to people that are closer to the swing. That's my opinion.
She's reaching out to the independent or the undecided during like these speeches, right? Like that's what she's doing super well. I think that's like the best thing that she's been doing, and that because a lot of people don't know who Kamala Harris is, right? Like they just don't know her. Even though she's been vice president for 4 years, like she just isn't seen doing like, because when you're like at that level of like diplomat, you're just not going to be seen in like the brand news when you're like Joe Biden's tripping over himself or like when that's going to be the fixation, right? So that's I think she's doing a really good job at distinguishing herself from like Biden's administration and being like, okay, this is what I'm standing for. This is what we did in the Biden administration, but this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fair enough. I'm going to close it out. You're going to be still running your end, Ginger?
What's that? No, I'm turning it off as well. I got to go see my family.
Okay. I appreciate everybody for coming on through. Vixen, final words, and then we'll go around.
Oh no, I still feel strongly about what I feel strongly about. I mean that I wish that he would have listened to me a little bit more and trying to explain things rather than jumping on my first comments. Because I don't think that abortions need to be banned 100%, and I don't think that welfare needs to be cut out. And I never said anything about WIC need to be cutting out. But I do still feel very strongly about how I do feel about all those subjects, other than WIC, and just the care that's provided by taxpayers that are also struggling, like even low income household. You guys talking about how $35,000, $40,000, like how the hell do you live off of that? Just saying, y'all are paying taxes to like those families are paying taxes to everybody else to provide a bigger family for themselves and more money that they can spend on themselves, when some families aren't even making what people make on welfare and they have two people working in the home. So you have to see both sides of the argument. And I think there's two sides to every argument, which is why I wanted to get on here with you guys. And I wanted to, I'm not a big Kamala supporter or Kamala or whatever the hell you want to call her. But I do appreciate coming on here and having a chance to kind of, take some notes on what you guys all think that her strong suits are, or what you guys think that her weaknesses are. I did get something out of this tonight, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, that's what
I respect, regardless of, I think she thinks that I'm probably a big Trump lover. That's not a fact.
Don't even harp on it. Don't even harp on it. I'm probably gonna get chewed out next Tuesday when because like I said, I already apologize. I'm gonna do it again too with Ruby, so I'll probably get chewed out next Tuesday, but it's all good. It's family here.
But yeah, I do respect everybody's opinion though. So I'm not a big Trump lover. I
understand what you're saying.
I sit wherever I want to on the fence, and it's pretty much high up here, and I'm trying to stay away from all the bullshit. Yeah. But I do have opinions about certain things, and I'm, obviously, like Trump looked like shit tonight, and I think Trump regularly looks like dump, like. It's like a comedy show. Like, oh, they look at what they've done, and look what I did, and they came in and they screwed this up. They shit all over it, and you guys need to call me back up so I can clean up the shit for you guys and make America great again.
I give myself a presidential pardon. Don't forget that part.
It's always the same story. So that's kind of really sad because. You would think that if he was going up against Kamala, that he would have been better prepared to actually talk about policies and things that he wants to do in the future, rather than talking about 98% of what has happened in the past. To be honest with you, he kind of reminded me of a woman tonight. You know what I mean? bringing up the past all the time.
I'm not going to say anything because my wife is probably watching.
My husband's gonna watch this smart, be like, oh, what?
Straight woman vibes.
Like,
right
you
there.
do the same thing, dear.
An ex-girlfriend just won't let it go. Hornets, appreciate you, good sir. We was on a debate, well, actually moderated for a debate with between Neve and Fatty. I thought it was a good conversation. I'm glad you was there because it's like it helped, kept it balanced. So thank you. Final words, comments.
People thought I was biased though.
Bro, it's crazy. I was gonna go in Neve chat like and just like troll a little bit on that. But there were certain things they were saying, but that's literally the black manosphere, bro. You can't there's no real like Neve and Fatty, even though Fatty's literally from the opposition side, and even though the conversation was, but realistically, I don't think he moved that way in real life. I could be guessing, but the optics probably say different. But just that conversation alone, because I don't gravitate to like really drama. Like I'll get the tea, like, hey, you know this, but that was a really good conversation between the two. The ignorance, like we just spoke here in the platform, you could just tell there's ignorant people, there's sheepy people, there's people just for the rah-rah drama, but certain people is not really there for real conversation. You give a topic, there's a conversation. It's big on YouTube for more the drama / whatever side community, because you have your fan favorite. You can just give them the facts, give them all the information, put it in their face and say, hey, can you explain this to me? And then next thing is go straight left with it's like, why am I even here? That's what me personally, I've seen it for so many years before I even started really engaging with this platform. I watch people, I watch these channels. I know them like this. I can repeat them. I can echo with them all the time, even their triggers, their ticks. 24/7. I was called out before they even say it, and I just laugh because it is over and over again. And the weird, silly people like ask the dumbest question: why did they do this? And like, why do you even care why they do it? They're here because they want to be here. So I just gravitate to real conversation for the most part. So thank you, good sir. Comments, complaints, concern. So I had to vent a little bit because I was like, yo, there's a lot over there. There's a lot. Are you Hornet?
Closing statement. Get out there and vote. It's really important, especially this time around. I think like even if you're a Trump supporter, I think you should go out and do your thing. Just because like again, it's something that I think you should do because it's your like civil duty, but I also think you should inform yourself on why you're voting a certain way. You should look at policies. You should like do a little bit of digging. No one's asking you to be like a lawyer on these things or look up like each like read of the 900-page 2020 Project 2025 like packet. No one wants you to do that. It's just like read up a bit on it and see how you feel about things. Thank you, Graypill, for letting me up. I just wanted to actually bounce off some ideas with people, and I got pretty good conversation out of this. And thanks for everyone that was fighting back or at least agreeing.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Mandrell, you good, sir? And then Angry Ginger.
Yeah, man. Bottom line, like I think Angry Ginger said earlier that Trump really knows how to galvanize his base. The simple truth of the matter is, it's not that hard. Like it really isn't hard because most people, they just want it to work. They want to live comfortably, and they just want the system to work. That's it.
Not struggle.
Right. They just want to live comfortably. Okay. They want to be protected, and they just want the system to work, which is the protection is a part of that. They just want it to work. That's it. And so when you hear a guy they think he's speaking to their struggles, they go, "Oh my God, I never heard anybody speak this way before." That's how you got people's appeal the first time back when Obama was president. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking to them, and then he threw a little truth to power in it too, especially during his debates with Hillary. Well, she's like, "But you're the one. He doesn't pay taxes." Of course not. You're the one who set the rules, Hillary. He turns it right back on her. But see, tonight, the turning back on his opponent stuff didn't work. And like I said, Kamala was very well groomed, very well prepared. She came ready for that. because like she said, he gets predictable. He does the same playbook over and over again. He came tonight with the same thing he always does, and she had a counter for it. And that's what happens when you don't change it up. And that's how you know he's not sincere. It's the same shit over and over again. It's just, finger pointing and not explaining to people how you're going to fix their problems. How are you going to bring down the cost of everyday living? How are you going to bring down the cost of, say groceries, gasoline? How are you going to clean up the air? How are you going to get the lead out of Michigan, out of the water in Michigan? That still hadn't been done yet. Okay. So when are we going to get around to that? Are we going to get around to that? People still lighting their water on fire that's coming out the faucet. These places where they're doing the fracking, that's still happening. So when are we going to do something about this? You know what I'm saying? People want to hear that kind of stuff. What are you going to do to fix their problems? I don't think either one of them really did that tonight. People are really excited about Kamala, but I think they're excited about her because she's a better candidate than Biden. Okay? And they're tired of hearing Trump do the same thing over and over again every day. So to a lot of people, she looks like a breath of fresh air. She hadn't done much in the way of, well, good or bad, if we're being honest. Like I said, when she's vice president, stop it, people. Come on. Vice president doesn't actually do anything. She couldn't do anything except what she was told to do, which is exactly what she's going to do when she's president. What she's told.
I was going to say that's what Biden did.
What she's going to do what she's told to do. Just like Biden did. Thank you, Victor. Just like Biden did. He did what he was told to do. And then when he had to address a problem, they shot him up or whatever they shot him up with and pushed him out on stage.
That's
the only way he was able to hold it together.
He started randomly walking off just like, oh, what?
See, Vixen, the medicine stopped working then. It was wearing off. He built up an immunity. You know what I'm saying?
He just shit his pants and he realized.
I gotta leave Sleepy Joe alone, man. Them memes he had with Obama was wow. So y'all leave Sleepy Joe alone.
Look, man, it's a shit show. It's a shit show, man. It really is a shit show, Ginger.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad.
It is. So my final closing statement.
Yes, sir.
Okay, people. Don't trust either one of them. Trump ain't gonna do shit. Kamala ain't really gonna do shit either. That doesn't benefit the elite. If it doesn't benefit the elite, it's not getting done. So if you want them to fix one of your problems, when you talk to them, frame it in a way that benefits them. Other than that, it ain't getting done. Just letting you know. They don't care. They really don't. I've talked to these politicians, shook hands with them, talked to them, ate dinner with them, and the amount of disconnect between them and normal people it's way worse than you think. It is insane. It's like they're from another planet, Grey Pill. It's like they're speaking fucking Cantonese. Like they don't understand what you're talking about. What do you mean? So eggs are $8. Why don't you just go get some eggs? Because they're $8 What are you talking about? Who can afford that? $8. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand. They don't get it. Just go get a car. Just go buy a house. Just send your kids to private school. But people are only making $30,000 a year. How are they going to afford all that? Well, what about you, Harris? You're doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm doing well. But the vast majority of people are not. And they don't know it. They really don't understand you. Well, us. Because these fucking taxes are ridiculous. I don't care what y'all say.
All right, fair enough. Angry Ginger.
I gotta write so much shit off. Look, it gave you. I gotta Ginger, before you go, I gotta itemize so much shit to get my write-offs. It's ridiculous.
Good problems. Good problems. First of all, eggs at my store are $3.99 because my store don't price gouge people. And that's why my store's successful. My store is actually insanely successful.
Oh, yeah, you ain't gotta rub it in.
They're price gouging you. That's what it comes
I
down
know.
to.
I know, but I want the nerds,
All right,
so
now
I'm
don't
gonna
let me
pay
pull
the
an Ashley.
$8.
Don't let me pull an Ashley. You cut them off. You cut them
All
off.
right,
Let me get
hold
words
on.
out.
I know.
All right, final statement. Donald Trump was bad tonight, but it ain't no different than it's ever been before. To be honest with you, you can go all the way back to 2016. Donald Trump's been saying the same old tired shit. It's just a different day, a different hour, a different night, and now a different opponent. But it's the same old bullshit. The only thing that has changed was in 2016, Donald Trump still had to have some kind of hope in his rhetoric, and now he has no hope in his rhetoric. He has nothing but fear, he has nothing but anger, he has nothing but hate, and he has nothing but vitriol, because he knows that's the easiest way to control people. At the end of the day, you can't control people with hope, but you can control them with fear. And that is what Donald Trump is doing. And at the end of the day, for me, when I vote for Kamala Harris, because that is the person that I feel is the best candidate for this job, my channel is a political channel. I'm not in a cult. I'm not going to sit here and just go, everything that Kamala Harris does is amazing. No, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say to myself, to my viewers, to the people I interact with, that it's very important that Kamala Harris follows through with every single thing that she has talked about. And if she does not, I will be vocal about finding another person to do the job. Every single person should have that in them. And that's not what the MAGA cult has. The MAGA cult believes that Donald Trump is infallible. They believe he has never committed a crime. They believe that he never lies. And that's insane. I don't need a cult leader. I need a person to do the job that I would do as a store manager of my store. I lead people to success. I want them to be successful so I can be successful, because a rising tide lifts all boats. I don't need somebody to hold the responsibility for me, to be accountable for me. So I'm voting for Kamala Harris because I believe she's the right person for it. But if you guys really want to get to a point where we can start talking about other people, start talking about other places, like I say, don't talk about parties, talk about policies. I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican, not a progressive, I'm not a libertarian. I'm just a person that has policy values. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the First Amendment. But I also believe that when you have the Second Amendment, you have a responsibility to be accountable for that responsibility. I will not be purity tested by the left or the right. No, thank you. So my channel is about thinking. My channel isn't about telling you who to vote. My channel is to show you my mind works, so that way you can use yours. The best thing you can do is, like Hornet said, get educated and get out and vote.
Fair enough. Everybody links will be down below, especially the features and Angry Ginger Progressive. And also Angry, appreciate you, man, making me a mod. I love all your lives from half the time. Definitely keep me active. So I appreciate it, man. Yeah. All right, catch our guys later. Will not be hanging backstage when it goes. I'm going straight to life. So I will catch our guys later. Thank you, Friction Eviction. Appreciate your man, Drew, for coming on through. I know you didn't have to, so appreciate the conversation. Hornets,
no problem,
Ashley,
man.
Thank you for coming on through. So thank you, and I'll catch our guys later. Subscribe, share. If you find anything of these conversations interesting, make a comment, complaint, concern. Let it go.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.